I'm okay, babe. Thanks. We're live right now, by the way, guys. I'm hearing you.
I wasn't talking. I wasn't complaining to you.
Go on about your blogger mishaps.
No, actually, this is. I have a few different Google accounts, and the one that you're sharing the show notes with is not the same one that I'm logged into for Hangouts. So that's where the complication came in.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you were just logged into the wrong one.
Right.
We have 2 viewers, by the way. Say hi to them.
Hi, viewers.
Hi, 2 viewers.
I'm invincible, and I fell into a spike pit, so I'm waiting to die.
But that's not going to happen because you're invincible.
Well, Justin, if you want to jump on a hangout tomorrow at any point, then I'm game.
Okay. That works for me. I can probably figure it out for myself. I was fiddling with it earlier tonight, and dog. Hey. It's the Infendo Dog Podcast.
Yeah.
Also known as the Dogcast.
Waka waka. I don't have a dog. Smart. I have a cat in the window behind me.
Go trade it in and get a dog.
And she's not very smart either.
Well, go get a dog.
No, we need cats. Cats are better than dogs.
You're a damn dirty liar.
And reindeers are better than people.
Oh, wait. This was already decided. Who won the Splatfest? I honestly forget. Was it cats or dogs?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
My Kleenex.
I want to say it was dogs, actually. I think
it was cats.
That's an easy Google search away. Let's
find out legally if cats are better than dogs.
Let's see.
Conversations we have on this show.
Let's see.
The dogs won in North America.
All right, then dogs are legally better than cats, and Eugene, you are wrong.
I mean, I guess so.
Thank you for trying.
Splatoon law, I guess, is binding.
Well, I mean, Eugene swings both ways, so.
Lucas said that dogs are better than cats, so.
Well, Lucas Heather doesn't like you anymore.
She likes dogs. She's
good.
I don't know. Winnie's a pretty awesome cat.
I mean, I love my cats, but I was a dog person like my whole life, so, you know.
Sure.
I am either.
Oh, Infendo Radio 401. It's a picture of Eugene going like this. Right next to a video called Knuckles Conquers Bathroom Anxiety.
Your turn.
We've truly made it.
We sure have. Oh, we lost Steve, though. There's the other dog. That's a fat one. Where's your dogs, Lucas?
What?
Where are your dogs at?
I don't have dogs.
Oh. Well, then you're arguing for the wrong Splatfest.
There she is.
Nice. I much prefer cats to dogs. Doesn't look like Michael Thompson does, though.
Say hi, Willow. Oh, okay. She's dumb and scared.
Steve, Michael would like to commit suicide because of you.
Apparently.
What the hell did I miss? I was gone for half a second.
Way to go,
and
Steve.
You already killed somebody.
Look what you did, Steve. Look what you did.
Hi, kitty. He's watching my bubbles in the tub.
My cat used to eat the bubbles in my tub.
Justin said that his cat used to eat the bubbles in the tub.
He probably still would, except we don't have a tub.
And I'm dead again. I hate this level.
I'm confused, though, as to how I'm responsible for him playing that crap game, because I also agree it's a crap game. It's
I like it.
60. I prefer the 64 version.
So do I, but that doesn't mean that I hate the DS version. It's just a lesser version. Mario 64.
Mario 64.
Yeah.
I actually bought a little finger strap nubbin thing so that I can use as a analog stick instead of that crappy what came with it was a wrist strap or something, right?
Yeah, make sure you have a screen protector because it will scratch your screen to hell.
Yeah, for sure.
My old DS Fat before I lost it had a spot in the lower left-hand corner of the touch screen that was just like rubbed raw.
That I got that. I think it was like on the upper left of my DS Fat because of Metroid Prime Hunters. I think there was like that's where you would like change weapons or something like that, or look at the map or something. Yeah, I actually really liked Metroid Prime Hunters. It was pretty cool.
That was like the one Metroid Prime I've actually been able to play to completion.
Same.
I think I played like one level of it.
I liked it for what it was.
Single player was kind of crap because it got repetitive. You know, they used the same environments over and over. But
but the multiplayer was cool.
Yeah. What is going on?
Somebody moved their mic.
Frankly, a much better example of how to do Metroid multiplayer than freaking Blast Ball, whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. The Federation
like all the different aliens, you know, like you can actually get attached to particular aliens.
Right. Federation Force wasn't terrible, but it didn't have any like it was lacking heart. What I feel.
Yeah. It just felt kind of like a shovelware. You know, like Nintendo does like some shovelware games. Like that felt like one of their more shovelware-y games.
Right.
Kind of like Kirby Super RPG Online.
I wish there was Kirby Super RPG Online. I'd play that.
Well, I mean the DS game.
Love you.
But it's also not online. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that. All right, so we might as well get talking about how we're gonna roll with this 25 list, right? How we're gonna order it. So
everybody get your shotguns handy.
I actually don't think this is going to be that bad. I mean, it's not like we're going to be cutting anything, so really it just comes down to like majority rule, you know?
Right, and I figure that we probably ought to start with what we think is going to be in at least contention for like the top 3 or 4, so then we get those out of the way right away, you know, because we can probably figure out what our top 5 is generally going to be, and then we can work from the bottom and then work our way to the top. Starting from the bottom, then we get to the top.
I assume that Mario Kart 8 and Smash Bros. 4 are probably both titles that are going to be pretty unanimously loved and therefore pretty high on the list.
Sure.
I could be wrong, but that just kind of makes sense, you know? I mean, those are kind of like vanilla, everybody loves them games. So.
Sure. Yeah, and we'll talk about all those. We'll talk about all that, like, you know, in the show proper. But I figure that'll probably be our best method, unless you guys have any other ideas of how we should run with it.
That's probably the best way to do it. I mean, what are we gonna do? Just like go through the list and like try to choose from like. I mean, I don't know. How are we gonna start this thing?
I figure we'll start off like how we kind of said, let's try and figure out like the top 3, 4, 5 games even maybe that we think are going to be probably in contention for the top 5 or even the top spot. And then we can like put a star by those. So then those are out of the running. We're not kind of really talking about those for the bottom of the list.
Then maybe we each like cast our vote and our argument for the worst in the list. And we just kind of go from there. Like we just start ranking from lowest to highest.
Yeah.
So let's just all agree right now that A Link to the Past is the best Nintendo game ever, and everything else is arbitrary.
Completely disagree.
I think we can probably put a star on it when we get to that point, but I don't know if it's going to be top of the list. It might be at top of my personal list, but you know, we'll have to see how the discussion goes.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. Like that's one that I don't particularly agree with. So you know.
I think that the bottom of the list is going to go by pretty quickly. But once we get into the top 10 and especially the top 5, we're going to have some words to be had. So okay, that works. And then after that, we will just do change the system section. I was telling the guys before you got on, Justin, that we probably aren't going to do Nintendo tunes because I feel that the list is kind of going to take the place of that. Sorry, listeners, no Nintendo tunes tonight if you were looking forward to that.
I was going to say, are we going to do news? But
no,
for once, I actually had contributions to the news this week, and
I don't think that we'll do news. That's kind of also going to take the place of this list, unfortunately.
Do you think the list is going to take like an hour and a half?
Yes.
I think it's at least going to take an hour for sure. And yeah, so you know, if we have time, maybe we can sneak in some news stuff. But we'll have to see how the list goes first. You know what I mean?
Okay, I guess we could just have like exceptionally long change the systems if things get weird. We can just kind of
and you know, if we only record for like an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, I mean, that's fine too. We gave 3+ hours last week, so
Lewis got to you with his short podcast, didn't he?
Yeah, right. No, and then we'll be back to the regular schedule next week. You know, I miss Nintendo just as much as I'm sure the listeners do.
Yeah, I'm kind of missing regular.
Speaking of music, my girlfriend bought the Moana soundtrack over the weekend. So if I randomly break into your welcome in the middle of the podcast or just start humming it, that's why. Go ahead and mute me or kick me from the call.
That was one of those Disney movies that I feel like I'm sure Steve's going to disagree with me here, but like that was one of those Disney movies that for me, or movies, I guess, just in general for me, that had like that one song that got stuck in my head and like a bunch of other music that was admittedly good, but like, do I remember it? Not really.
Oh, I don't know. The one that Moana sings with How Far I'll Go or something like that. I love that one too. And I gotta love Shiny because, you know, it sounds like a David Bowie song.
I just like Shiny because it reminds me of Steve now.
What?
Why?
Remember Mario Kart? When you got your like all gold pieces and you like reference Shiny?
Yep.
Oh, Jacob Taylor is singing you the Moana soundtrack, Justin, in the chat. You should join him.
And that's difficult to do in text form.
Oh, geez. I was very disappointed to find out that Tamara Morrison didn't do his own singing.
Well,
I wanted to hear Django Fett sing, damn it.
Shoot. Well, guys, what do you say we get rolling? We're a little bit early, but we didn't really solidify. No, Mike's not going to be on with us, so.
Is everybody going to start recording?
Yeah, let's do that.
I did about 5 minutes ago.
If you do want to know what my feelings on Moana are, you can go to Facebook and look up Master Claus movie reviews. There's a whole collection of them. And one of these days, Lucas will give me a logo for it.
Yeah, I have one, but it looks really bad. So, like, I don't know if you actually want it or not.
It goes with all the logos that I ever designed.
It's like just your me in like a movie theater with a cartoon popcorn and soda in the corner. It looks really bad. So
I'll be honest, that's all I was going to do. Actually, what I was thinking about doing was taking a screenshot from the old sitcom, The Critic. Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
John Lovitz? I was going to take that and just replace Jay Sherman's head with my me.
I could do that for you if you want that.
I couldn't find a good screenshot of it, but if you can, go for it.
Okay.
That sounds like a trip to a BitTorrent site to me.
Everything.
No, that's later after the show's over.
I may have a third person playing Minecraft with me tomorrow if Michael's free. Michael Thompson.
Testing.
I see that.
Testing.
I'm going to. I forgot to drop my VPN. Or my VPN, my VPN, and I need to close Dropbox, so I might drop out of the call for like 10 seconds, so bear with me.
Okay, and my Parappa the Rappa that I'm listening to in the background is not audible in my track, which is a good sign, so I think I'm good to go.
Make sure that everybody's microphones are set to the right microphone.
Brew Snowball.
Not the left microphone. Joke from last week.
Oh, right. It's about to ask who's doing Nintendo Tunes this week.
Oh, God. Boot him now.
What can I say except you're welcome?
Nice. Now it's going to be in my head all night. Yeah.
All right.
For the song that is stuck in your head.
All right, guys. What say we start clapping? You all ready? Yeah, everybody recording?
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm good.
Honestly, I can go on and on. I can explain every natural phenomenon.
And check your microphone again, Lucas, since we just went through that a minute ago.
Around. Okay, you can count down whenever you want.
Uh-oh.
All right, y'all. In 3, 2, 1. All right, Justin, what time are you at?
Oops, I forgot to hit record.
Oh,
And
let's do this.
and 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I was at 5 seconds.
Point. At least you figured that out before, like we weren't halfway through the podcast.
Oh, dear God, help me get through this in one piece.
Lucas, what was
And
your
you
second
think-
clap at?
The second set was at 41.
Cool. And Steve.
Somewhere around 8:06.
Cool. That works for me. I meant what time are you guys? Isn't it like 8:51 over there? That's what I meant, y'all.
Steve's on your time, Eugene.
Yeah, mountain full.
Episode 400 jokes. All right, y'all. I am gonna finish these Twizzlers.
Wait, Eugene,
Yo.
what time were you at when we clapped?
Let's see. Let me zoom in. I was at 1 minute and 10 seconds.
All right, thank you. I'll get that written down for my note. All right.
Oh, I smell a remix.
Yeah, right.
And
Don't get too
on,
excited.
and based on how this has started, we think we can get this done in an hour.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Anybody need to go use the bathroom one last time or anything before we get rolling?
Yeah, I'll hold it.
I'm over that.
Okay. Well.
Unless somebody else wants to hold it for me.
Oh God.
Oh.
Jeez Louise. Show start. Hold on. I need to get my non-clicky keyboard. I always forget about that. I'll be right back.
Oh, fuck.
Kick.
Welcome to Infendo Radio, episode 401.
I guess I'll
everybody.
go pee real fast then.
Oh, wow. Now kick, punch, chop, block.
Lucas, we should
Punch
just duck
kick.
out of frame so that when Eugene comes back,
Duck, duck, duck.
All right. Let's get started, folks. Let's be silent for just a second.
Cool.
All right, let's get rolling. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Infendo Radio, episode 401. Hopefully, you guys all listened to our episode 400 spectacular last week. It was fun, but now we're back to, just the regular crew minus Mike. But I do have an empty sofa in front of me with a cat in front of it, so I'm not going to introduce Justin first.
Aw.
But there he is. But I do have Lucas with me tonight. How you doing tonight, Lucas?
Hey, you got first. Look
Eugene, Steve actually went to the bathroom when you left, so he's not here yet.
That's where we were hiding. We would hope you'd come back and find a bunch of empty seats.
I'll stall, but I guess you just start the show whether we're here or not. I'm doing fantastic. Unlike Steve, I am actually present for the show.
I like that
Justin-
Steve has his headphones in probably, and he's trying to squeeze one off real quick and come back to us. So good luck with that, Steve.
So stalling. You know what the best part about stalling is just how easy it is to stall while you're waiting for the person that you're stalling for to get back from the bathroom stall, which is why you're stalling.
I never left. You can't prove this on the audio version.
Except for the fact that we just spent 5 minutes talking about it.
Who's that I hear over there? How you doing tonight, Steve?
I am great. How are you guys?
Doing great. But last but not least, I've got Mr. Justin here hiding behind his cat. How you doing?
Way me behind my cat. The cat's over there. Because everybody listening to the podcast can see me point.
Well, if you're not on the live version, I don't know what y'all are doing. Got to subscribe to us on YouTube. We record live every Wednesday night. You can join the shenanigans too, so be sure to do that. This week, guys, we are going to tackle our top 25 list and try and get it ordered in an orderly fashion or something like that.
Good luck, everyone.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I guess.
Am I the only one not eating? Just have curiosity.
I think so. I got Twizzlers, not cookies, this like Mike. So
I'm not. I don't know why you would think I am.
I stopped eating. I'm done.
Oh, okay. So it's just you, Eugene. Jeez.
yeah, I'm the rude one, but I love Twizzlers. I can't put them down. I don't know.
But Eugene also has the power to kick any of us off the podcast at any time. So let's not call him out on his faults and just get going.
Good point, Lucas.
So, Link to the Past, best Nintendo game ever made. Everything else is arbitrary. The list is done. Let's move on to Nintendo's.
It's funny how you just gave us the opposite day list, but today is reality day. So let's start with number 25, A Link to the Past. Overrated garbage or overhyped piece of crap?
Oh, you tell me.
Wow. Is this the McLaughlin group all of a sudden?
So I guess we're starting here. We're going to get this list sorted, but I figured I ought to let everybody know what's going on here. So if you guys didn't listen to episode 400, we had a list of, God, how many games do we have? Like 96, 97 games or something like that.
It was a lot.
We
Too
whittled it down.
fucking many.
Yeah, we whittled it down to 25 of the games that we think are the best Nintendo games that have ever appeared on a Nintendo console, ARMS included, y'all. So we are going to try and order that list somehow. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to try and make it happen. But first things first, guys. I think we can probably pick a good 3 to 5 games to start with that are probably going to be at the top of the list or near the top of the list when it all gets said and done, right? Like there's no secret that A Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time are going to be near the top of the list, right? We can probably put a star next to those, huh?
Agreed.
Okay, so let me do that real quick.
I nodded, by the way, since that won't come through on the podcast.
I'm gonna screen share so our video listeners can see the list. But Lucas, why don't you read the list off for us in your best ASMR interpretation or impersonation?
Hello and welcome to Infendo Radio, episode 401. The list consists of the following titles in alphabetical order: A Link to the Past, Animal Crossing, ARMS, Breath of the Wild, Chrono Trigger, Donkey Kong Country 2, Final Fantasy VI, which is Final Fantasy 3 in the States. That's very confusing. Fire Emblem Awakening. Sorry, not sorry, Holly. GoldenEye. Kirby's Adventure, which I think is like the worst of the Kirby's, but Kirby's Adventure. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Mario Maker. Metroid Prime, Ocarina of Time, Paper Mario, Pikmin, Pokemon.
Michael Thompson told you that you have to smack your lips from now on, so why don't you start doing that?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Resident Evil 4.
Those are both of the Pokemon games are the same on the list, not separate entries on the list. By
those are counting as one game. They're the same game. Stop buying both, you tools. You're feeding into Game Freak's pockets. Resident Evil 4, Smash 4, Splatoon, Star Fox 64, Super Mario 64, Super Mario World, Super Metroid. Wow, those were super. And closing out the list, Xenoblade Chronicles.
You forgot Super Mario Brothers 3.
No, we didn't. You also forgot Minecraft, if that's going there.
Okay. So I figure we ought to pick at least 1 or 2 more that we think are going to be at the top of the list. I already chose Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time kind of for the group. So what do you guys think should be on the top of the list?
Well,
I think definitely Mario 64 and probably Mario World are going to end up there. Well, everybody else agree?
Let's put Mario 64 because I think that's pretty universally loved. I don't know about Mario World. It's a good game. I don't know if it's like top 5 material.
Yeah, I agree.
And I kind of want to push again that I think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Smash 4 are both going to be really high up there. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like on my own personal list, it probably wouldn't be at the top, but this is like a best of all time list, and it just kind of makes sense.
I would agree with you. Probably on both counts, actually. Like they're both the best Smash. Smash is probably the best Smash in the series. Mario Kart's probably the best Mario Kart in the series. So,
and they're both really beloved series overall. I mean, it's not like we're voting for like the best I don't know, Star Fox or something. So,
right.
What do you guys think?
I would be okay with putting a star on both of those, honestly.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
Smash 4 and Mario Kart 8.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that gives us a pretty good starting point. That's 5 games right there. So it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be our top 5 when all is said and done, but I think that, it's probably going to be pretty close to, or if not the top 5. So we'll see how it goes. So now we need to start shitting on games. What do you think is the worst in this fucking list? I don't know. It's
let's see.
Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Xenoblade Chronicles.
Is there anything on the list that you think should go below that?
Personally speaking, Metroid Prime, but I think that's pretty universally loved. So objectively speaking, I would say no.
Well, I don't know. Final Fantasy 3, maybe.
Well,
as much as I love that game,
it's hard to say though, because again, we kind of chose the generally decided the best game of every series. So then it just becomes, is Final Fantasy any less valid of a series than Kirby? Kirby's Adventure is
that's true.
Pretty bare bones, kind of boring game, really.
Sure. Well, when you put it that way, then I think 3 should be above Chronicles.
I don't know. I mean, does anybody here have any argument for Xenoblade Chronicles? I mean, I know it's a good game, but personally, I find it kind of washed over RPG-ish,
If this was my list, it would be 25. So that's how I feel about it. But I like the game, but I don't have as much love for it as some of the other games on this list,
It didn't even make my list.
Yeah. Justin?
I've never played it, so I have no opinion.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we're I hate to say that we're ranking it like this just because we don't like it, but that is kind of what we're doing with this whole list in general, right? So
it's our list.
Yeah, so I guess Xenoblade Chronicles gets pooped on at the very bottom of the list. I'm sorry, listeners. I'm sure you're all really upset right now. Let's tune in and see.
Looks like Phantom was the only cheerleader for Xenoblade in the comments.
Yeah, actually.
But he it sounded like he was kind of seeing that it was going to be number 25. So I don't know that we're going to get that much hate for that one, but I think that's where it belongs, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. So where do we think we go from here? I could take a stab at it, but I don't know that you guys would agree with me here.
Well, tell us what you're thinking.
If with Xenoblade Chronicles, I think that there's a couple of RPGs that kind of go right behind it, namely Paper Mario. I love the Paper Mario games, but I think there's better games on this list. And I don't know that with us, with this group here, that the RPG genre is necessarily the strongest, right? I mean, Steve, you're probably the one that plays the most RPGs out of anybody. How do you feel about this?
Well, in my opinion, so we've got Final Fantasy 3, Fire Emblem Awakening, and Paper Mario, and then
Chrono Trigger and Xenoblade.
So Chrono Trigger is pretty beloved.
Yeah, and
Final Fantasy 3.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say Final Fantasy 3 for me. You hear a lot about, but not as much as Chrono Trigger. So 3 has to go below Chrono Trigger. I would consider putting Paper Mario above both of those. To be honest,
I would as well, mostly because Paper Mario is the most unique of all the RPGs on the list.
Yeah, I mean, if I can also
also the most Nintendo.
Yeah, if I can also chime in, I have played most of these RPGs, the one exception being Chrono Trigger, so I'm not going to even voice my opinion on that. And I vote Paper Mario higher than Final Fantasy 3 at least. I don't know about Chrono Trigger, but
my Chrono Trigger, when I played it, I did not finish because it didn't grab me.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 3 I saw to the end, and Paper Mario, I've never played that Paper Mario, but I know it's very well regarded. So if it were me, even if we were just to start with the bottom of the list and put all the RPGs there to start, and then maybe if something, we feel should go down lower, I would say do Xenoblade at 25, and then Chrono Trigger at 24, Final Fantasy 3 at 23, and Paper Mario at 22. Maybe we start there, and if we think of something that we feel should be lower than one of those four, maybe we work those down. Just a thought.
So starting with Paper Mario 22, 23, 24 on the RPGs.
I don't see. I kind of disagree that Chrono Trigger is. I think that's in. Okay, so I'm probably going to be alone here, right? It sounds like you guys think that Paper Mario is more beloved than like a Chrono Trigger or a Final Fantasy 3.
Well, I don't know about more beloved.
I mean, my argument is we're counting down the best Nintendo games, and even though the other games appeared on Nintendo systems, Paper Mario is the Nintendo RPG. So that's my argument for the whole thing. I mean, you could play Final Fantasy VI on your iPhone even. You can play Chrono Trigger on PlayStation. I can't remember what the other one was that we were arguing, but like Paper Mario, it's not only a unique turn-based RPG, but it's also Nintendo's unique turn-based RPG. So for a Nintendo list, I think that puts it above. For a best RPGs of all time list, yeah, you kind of have to give that one to Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy. But
I'm looking at the chat, which I think we should also consider in this because, you know, they are kind of the other half of Infendo.
Right.
And I'm seeing a lot of opinions about Final Fantasy 3 kind of being, I'm going to call it 6 because it is 6.
Fix that ambiguity there.
There seems to be a lot of opinion about like Final Fantasy 6 being a little, I hate using this word, but a little more overrated than some of the other titles on the list. Like, I don't think people would argue that Chrono Trigger is overhyped, but this Jacob Taylor does kind of make a good point here where he says that he thinks that 6 was so loved because it was the last of its kind before 7 kind of reinvented the genre.
Except Final Fantasy VI was pretty highly regarded before Final Fantasy VII was even a thing. So
that's true. But as soon as 7 came out, 6 just kind of became that niche game that all the old school Final Fantasy fans liked, and 7 became the most beloved Final Fantasy of all time. Like personally
God only knows what reason.
Personally speaking, if I was to move one of these titles down to slot 24, it would be Final Fantasy 6. If I can't do GoldenEye, because I think GoldenEye has aged horribly, but that's a discussion for later.
And see, we don't have to make. First of all, I think we need to maybe discuss what this list is then, right? Because is it the best Nintendo games list, or is it the best games that have appeared on Nintendo consoles list? Because I think there's a distinction there, right?
Well, I think the fact that we have games that have appeared on multiple systems on the list means that it has to be a best games of all time that have appeared on Nintendo systems list. Like, it can't.
Not really, because every single one of these games, I'm just kind of glossing over just to make sure I'm correct before I say this. Every single one of them premiered on a Nintendo system and had a life on a Nintendo system before it ever appeared on anything else. So I would call all of these Nintendo games just not necessarily, I mean...
But it seems kind of biased then to just say that the games that aren't really like quote-unquote Nintendo games should just be at the bottom of the list just because. Like, if they made it to the top 25, I think they should have as much of a chance of fighting for top-tier lists as, you know...
That's my argument for Chrono Trigger over Paper Mario, you know, because I think universally, even so, your argument for Final Fantasy VI, Lucas, was valid, right? But once Final Fantasy VII came about, kind of everybody forgot about 6. Yeah. But that was not true about Chrono Trigger. Everybody was still playing
Paper Mario.
Sure, yeah. So but I think that leads me to believe that maybe we are just arguing for Final Fantasy to be at the bottom of the list, you know, to kind of be below your Chrono Triggers and below your Paper Marios. And what the heck are we going to do with Fire Emblem Awakening, by the way? Who has love for that?
Well, I have a lot of love for that, actually, and I've got some arguments I want to make for that one. But
you might be the only one, but totally fair that you get that chance.
Well, I think it's a valid argument that it should be higher up on the list because there is a lot of like history to that game, and history seems to be something we value in this list. But
well, maybe
can I just say
an RPG then?
It kind of bothers me that we're going to move, like, as much as I think Final Fantasy VI deserves to be like lower on the list, Does nobody else have a problem with Kirby's Adventure not being like near the bottom?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to, I think that maybe we aren't looking at an RPG for our next game, guys.
Like, I kind of want Kirby's Adventure at 24. Like, I don't know about you guys, but as far as Kirby games go, like, and I know that I think Mike was the one that argued for it, and I'm sure he'd have a lot to say about it, but
I second.
For a game. Well, hold on a second. It's just so bare bones for a game of its genre, like compared to other Kirby games, and even as just a platformer game, it's really basic.
See, I mean, Kirby's Adventure is not only one of the Kirby games, but one of the 2D platformers in general that I go back to quite a bit. I think sadly, as many entries as there have been in the Kirby series, I think it's still the best in the series.
God, I completely disagree. And I mean, maybe it's just because I grew up with the Super Nintendo Kirby, but I mean, the fact that was the one without any powers, right?
No,
Kirby's Adventure has
Kirby's
powers.
Dream Land is the only one that didn't have powers.
Okay, so Kirby's Adventure was the NES title.
Yeah, that was the one that introduced powers.
Which was later remade into Nightmare in Dreamland. Yeah, I mean, then I have more respect for it, I guess, than I did for Kirby's Dreamland, but I still don't know. I feel like it deserves to be pretty low on the list.
I'm looking at, so when I'm looking at games that I think could be potential 24s, I'm kind of looking at Star Fox 64's way.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think I know it had a lot of impact, but or Pikmin even. I don't know, like. I don't know what Kirby could be at that 24 spot. I'm not going to argue that. I don't really like Kirby games to begin with, but it sounds like Justin might have a problem with that.
I'll be honest. Once we get past the top 5, or especially the top 10, it's all just, again, it's all like arbitrary to me because, I mean, all right, I'm going to go off here the list of games that I have never played. I've never played the original Animal Crossing, never played ARMS, never played Chrono Trigger. I've only kind of sort of played Final Fantasy VI, never played any Fire Emblem game. I've never beaten Metroid Prime, never played any of the others, never played Pikmin, never played Resident Evil 4, never played Xenoblade. So, like, that's almost half the list there that I have really no opinion one way or the other, except that it didn't leave enough of an impression on me for me to go out of my way to play. But, so, I mean, I'm going to argue for the games on the list that I've played because I have fond memories and fond feelings of that. But I don't know. Maybe Fire Emblem Awakening is better than Kirby's Adventure. I don't know. I've never played it, so I would put Fire Emblem at the bottom of the list and Kirby, higher up to the top.
Yeah, I just don't know how objective that is. If and I don't want to game shame you for having not played the games. That is going to make it hard for you to organize the games objectively because
exactly, and that's the point I'm trying to make. And I'm sure you guys have games on this list that you've never played or that you've played but have no attachment to whatsoever. And so, I mean, to try and rank, I mean, when we tried to rank the top 10 Wii U games, that was a clusterfuck and a half.
Sure.
I can't imagine trying to, and not to, basically throw a wrench in the works of our entire episode here, but I feel like trying to objectively rank 25 games that some of us haven't even played is going to be challenging, and we kind of have to maybe have a little,
of course.
They have a little, like maybe split it up into 5s. Like these are the top 5, and then these are the next top 5, and then these are the next top 5, and then maybe not get so much into, the nitty gritty of, well, is 6 better than 7? But be like, all right, 6 through 10 are all roughly equal quality. 11 through 15 are all roughly equal quality, and do it that way.
Well, I kind of feel like that's kind of what we're doing, we're just, that's just a different way of thinking.
Well, because we've been debating for like the past 20 minutes whether Paper Mario is better than Final Fantasy or Chrono Trigger, and I'm like, put them all in the same group,
Here's a thought then. Another show I listen to, because as you guys know, I listen to a lot of podcasts. They're a pop culture podcast called Bacon Sale, and what they do occasionally is they'll do tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So maybe we sort them out by tiers, and once they're sorted out into tiers, then we can use those tiers to do like top 5, middle 5, bottom 5, or something.
Well, I mean, we're kind of already in it right here, guys. Like we can. I feel like we can do exactly what Justin did with the list that we have right in front of us, right? So we are looking at 20 through 25, and then we're trying to find what roughly is on the bottom of the list, right? Because that would be the bottom tier.
So can I throw out some games maybe just to get us started off? What are we, guys? What are you doing to the list?
I'm just playing with options here and
okay.
It up. I'm playing with the idea of basically doing like the tiers. But
can I throw out some games that I think maybe we'll agree are more bottom of the list, and we can go with it from there?
Yeah, let's hear.
Possibly. Okay, well, I would, if we're thinking bottom of the list, I would agree Star Fox 64 is probably pretty low on the list, right, guys?
Yeah.
I can go with that.
I mean,
so maybe we'll put that one.
But yeah,
and I guess let's let Eugene be the organizer on the actual list then, so we don't all like mess with it at once. But let's move Star Fox 64 lower on the list.
Okay.
What are we talking about when it comes to Kirby's Adventure? Are we fighting for that to be higher up, or is that bottom 5?
That's middle tier for me.
I was gonna say like 15 beyond. I think Kirby is probably good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, how about Mario Maker? A lot of us were even upset that Mario Maker made it on the list.
I would be Mario Maker putting it at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, and I don't know whether I made this argument last week, but the thing about Mario Maker is it's such a wild card. Yeah, the creation tools are awesome, but as far as your gameplay experience, that's entirely up to what happenstance gives you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, Eugene, what do you think? Can we move Mario Maker down low?
I am okay with that for sure. So let's get Mario Maker towards the bottom.
It seems like most of us are of the mindset that while Final Fantasy VI is a good game, it is not by any means even like the top 2 RPGs on this list.
I would be okay with that.
Think about lowering that?
I would definitely be okay with that, because I feel that Chrono Trigger eclipses Final Fantasy VI pretty much in every way. So,
all right,
see, and
I just wanted to the RPG players out there. What did Final Fantasy VI do gameplay wise that was different than Final Fantasy IV?
It didn't do anything really different per se, but it did everything better. And
it had a lot of character development, and like story wise, it was a really heavy and well written game. But
wasn't it one of the first ones to have a changeable job class?
That was 5.
No.
Okay.
But I do think it was one of the first Final Fantasies to take advantage of Mode 7, maybe? I don't know. Was that a thing?
Yes, but
not that should really matter.
No, wait, no. I'm pretty sure Final Fantasy IV had a Mode 7 overworld map.
I think you're right. So I guess
Final Fantasy VI was one of the first games ever to display 256 colors at once. But
I mean, well, bringing it back to the list though, like, does this all of this stuff mean that we're thinking about putting it on this bottom tier here?
I still suggest it for bottom tier personally, but that's just me.
I don't have as much love for that as I do like a Chrono Trigger. I would argue that Paper Mario is below Final Fantasy VI for me.
See, I disagree there.
But I'm not gonna win that argument with you guys. So I would concede Final Fantasy VI going to the bottom.
All right, so let's move that down. I guess above Mario Maker for now, just as a placeholder. Steven, I'm gonna ask you this one because actually I want to ask both of you this one. Because this might not be at the bottom of the list, but in terms of Donkey Kong Country 2 as a platformer title, because it seems like we're kind of comparing by genre right now, and that can be dangerous territory, but you've got Donkey Kong Country 2 and you've got Kirby's Adventure, which are like kind of two of our more, I think, potentially low-tier platformers when you compare them to like Super Mario World.
What
do you think about those?
Yeah, I'm going to actually debate that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to step on.
No, you're fine.
No, it's fine.
Either, Steve, but
go ahead.
I'm okay with Kirby being lower on the list because it is a pretty bare bones platformer. Yes, it did kind of, introduce a lot of the great things about Kirby, and I still love it. But Donkey Kong Country 2 is definitely a much better platformer than any Kirby game. Is it as good as Super Mario World? Maybe not, because it does go for like raw challenge as opposed to...
I will disagree all night with you on that one, but go on.
For Mario World,
the thing with Donkey Kong Country 2 is it's all about the frustrating challenge of, oh my god, how am I ever going to get through this part? And in that, it's very rewarding and very well designed. Whereas Super Mario World is all about giving you, giving you a challenge and a few variations on that challenge, and then you overcome it and you move on. But it's always more fun than challenge.
I'm thinking out of all the platformers that are left, Kirby's probably the weakest, in my opinion.
Right.
Now, how about this for temporary right now? We kind of flip flop where all of them are. So like Super Mario World at 11, Donkey Kong Country at 14, and Kirby's Adventure at 20, just to kind of.
Well, let's work from the bottom tier first. So we need.
As far as me answering Lucas's question, Donkey Kong Country 2. Okay, so Donkey Kong Country 2, I love the level design in that game. I love the way the secrets are hidden, and all your secrets tie into a greater secret at the end of the game. It's got an amazing soundtrack. To me, it is superior to Kirby's Adventure in every aspect.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a top tier game, even over Mario World. But I've always preferred the Donkey Kong Country games or like Donkey Kong Country 1 or 2, I would put above Mario World, just, because that's how I am.
Hey, Eugene, before we go too much farther into this, check the chat. Jacob's asking, any chance we can get video back in the bottom? I'm not sure what that means, but...
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Steve, in point of your argument, I think we are probably going to have is Donkey Kong Country 2 better or worse than Super Mario World argument. I hate to say that I think you're in the minority, because Donkey Kong Country 2 was one of my favorite games as a kid. Personally, I think Mario World beats it out, but you made a lot of valid points that I could, get behind Donkey Kong Country 2 as the superior game. You could sway me by the end of the night. I don't know if you'll be able to sway Justin and Eugene, but...
Right.
All right, so we're all okay with Kirby's Adventure being in the bottom tier, right?
I think so.
All right, so I'm just going to throw that down to 21.
Sure.
Okay, that's fine.
Now let's organize this bottom tier, huh?
Okay, do we need one more game, though, or do we have 5?
That's 5.
Yeah, we have 5. Okay, so I think we all agree Xenoblade Chronicles is the bottom, right?
I would say so.
Okay.
Out of this 5, I would say, in my opinion, Final Fantasy has to be at the top. I would be okay with Final Fantasy or Star Fox 64 being at the top.
Yeah, I was going to say Star Fox myself, but what do you guys think?
Either one of those would be good. One of those at 21, one of those at 22 would be fine by me. But what do you guys think, Justin and Steve?
I was in chat. What was the question?
I think as it stands right now, 21 through 25 are perfect.
Yeah, I mean, we can split hairs on which ones are better or worse than others, but I think looking at the list, I'm comfortable with those 5 being the bottom.
Yeah, I might flip personally Star Fox 64 and Final Fantasy 6, but that's just me personally.
Personally, I would
almost argue for Star Fox to go higher, but we'll cross that bridge if we come to it.
This is what we're doing now, is we're getting through these 5 games. I would argue Star Fox 64 at the top, Final Fantasy right below that, Kirby in the middle, then Mario Maker, then Xenoblade. That's my preferred list.
I would be okay with that. My list, Star Fox and Final Fantasy would be flipped, but I'm okay with it as it stands.
Again, I kind of want Star Fox 64 a little higher, but when we get higher up on the list, I'll make that argument. But I can't think of anything to take its place other than games I've never played. So
okay, well, before we get to that point, didn't we just agree that this is the bottom 5 and that's the bottom 5? So Star Fox is going to be there.
Yeah, all right.
21. Yeah. So if you want to argue it, you better argue it now, buddy.
Well, the thing is, I can't think of what game to replace it with right now, other than, again, games I've never played. My arguments in favor of Star Fox 64 is it is one of the best on-rail shooters out there. It introduced so many innovations to gaming in general, as well as the genre. You got your rumble support. You've got a lot of voices, especially for a cartridge. The multiple branching paths, the storyline, and all that.
What would you put to replace it at 21?
Well, that's my thing. I don't know what maybe Animal Crossing. Pikmin.
I actually think that Star Fox is, as much as I love it and the series, I actually think it belongs at spot 21 personally.
I see, and I'm totally okay with that. I would argue that it would be below 21 at 22. So
no,
I think it's okay where it is, but I'm listening to arguments, Justin. If you've got any.
No, real quick before we keep going with this, I do want to say that Mike is in the chat. And he is arguing for Kirby's Adventure to be at the top of this list of 5. So, I disagree with it. I think Kirby's Adventure sits nice in the middle.
I disagree as well, and I love Kirby's Adventure, but other than being what created a lot of innovation within the Kirby genre or the Kirby franchise, it didn't really innovate on anything in gaming.
I realize this is kind of like making a deal, but I would be willing to move Kirby's Adventure above Final Fantasy VI in that they both kind of mean the same to me. Like I arguably I would say Final Fantasy VI is a more important game, but there's a lot of love for Kirby's Adventure in our group. And if you guys would be happier maybe putting that above it, I just think Star Fox belongs above Kirby, but I could move Kirby to the number 2 slot in this tier.
In the interest of moving things forward, why don't we move on to the next group? There's no chance of getting Star Fox 64 out of the bottom 5 then? Is that the consensus I'm getting here?
That's kind of where we're going.
All right, then why don't we move on to the next 5 and get into the nitty-gritty when we're done ranking everything?
Yeah, because I'm kind of okay with this bottom 5 being where it is. Like, I'm with you there, Justin. I think that I don't know that moving Kirby up or down is really going to do much good, especially because I really like Final Fantasy, and I would argue that it's above Star Fox anyway. So yeah, we ought to move on.
Okay, well, getting on to the next. Do you mind if I kind of go with this? Did somebody else want to kind of take the reins on this tier, or?
Take points.
I can talk. I would start to get into the point here where, for me personally at least, the shooters start to pile up. I would argue Fire Emblem is probably in this tier. It's somewhere in between 20 and 16. Okay. Where on the list, I really don't know. I would put it higher than lower, but I'll argue that point when we get to it. But I think Fire Emblem is in this next lowest tier.
Having never played it. Having never played it, I'm fine with that.
Splatoon, personally, I feel like kind of belongs in this tier as well. I know there's a lot of people who really like Splatoon, but
on that token,
it's the best.
On that token, I'm gonna nominate ARMS for this next tier as well.
Yeah, I mean,
that's fine. I disagree, but yeah.
I would sooner, well, I mean, I don't know. Again, haven't played ARMS, but I would sooner see Splatoon in the next tier. Because I think Splatoon is right there in the 10 to 15 range or 11 to 15 range.
Well, I'm going to argue that I kind of feel like ARMS and Splatoon are very similar games, both in terms of what they provide to their genres and their content level. And that if we're going to put one game in this tier, we should probably put both of them in the tier. As much as I hate to say that, because personally, ARMS is perfect sitting up there at like spot 6 or 7 for me. But like ARMS is better than Smash for me in terms of fighting games. But I think that it probably belongs where Splatoon belongs. If you guys think that they both belong up higher, I'm willing to make that concession because I do think they're both really good games. But
I would agree. I would agree with that as well because I can see. I really like ARMS, and I can definitely see it on my list in a top 25 list in the 11 to 15 range. So I'm willing to concede to that point.
Yeah, I'm willing to say that Splatoon could be like number 14 or 13 on the list as opposed to being number like 17. So
that sounds good to me.
Yeah, I can argue Splatoon because I haven't played it. I do think ARMS should be in this tier that we're working in right now, though, personally. You know, as much as I do like it, I just think there's...
I think ARMS... pardon the pun. I think ARMS needs time to grow.
See, I disagree, though. Like, I don't know. I just find it to be such a...
We know what the full package of Splatoon is now. We know what the weapon balance is. We know what the all the levels are. We know what the gameplay and all the different things are. You know, Splatoon is what Splatoon is. ARMS is still being created. ARMS could be... I mean, Splatoon was a completely different game 3 months away from when it was released.
But ARMS is released, and
yes, but
it
it's
is a full game.
And I would argue that when ARMS was released, and even now after the first batch of DLC, it's much more advanced than where Splatoon was day one.
And I would agree. It's a complete game now. It's not like Splatoon where it felt like you were still getting bits and pieces of the game as you went along. With ARMS, it feels more like Mario Kart 8, where you're getting extra content after the fact, but the core game is there. The mechanics are all built in. The ARMS are basically just improvements on themselves at this point. You're not seeing like brand new types or classes or anything. I feel like you know what ARMS is now, and it's not really going to change much in the next few months. It's just going to get more content.
And that content could break the game. Is what I'm saying.
But how can you even consider that for the list? I think we just have to consider ARMS for what it is now, and not say like it might get better, it might get worse. It is what it is, and where it is right now, it's sitting higher up on the list for me than like a game like Splatoon.
See, for me, ARMS sits at number 17 on my personal list.
See, I just have so many other games that like go lower than that. Like even putting aside my own biases, like I hate Metroid Prime, but I'm willing to concede that it's a popular game and it's going to get high up on the list. A game like GoldenEye, I feel like is just like I want to move GoldenEye, guys. I want to have the GoldenEye discussion.
Well, let's figure out if we're going to get ARMS and Splatoon out of this next tier. And then let's argue with the next games, because I'm with you, Lucas. I think ARMS and Splatoon should probably be on the same tier. I also... How
about we put them, since we're all kind of bouncing around, why don't we put them next to each other in the middle of the list? And
sure, that's fine.
They can move up and down based on everything around them.
That's fair. We can do the Steve Pyramid method.
Okay, so do we want to talk about...
Guys.
Do we want to talk about GoldenEye next? I mean, I'm okay with it being...
I want to have the discussion.
I'm going to fight hard for GoldenEye to be in the next tier.
See, so. I appreciate, too, that like you love this game because it is kind of considered like the core of first-person shooter games.
Let me give my argument for GoldenEye before Justin does, because I know exactly what he's going to say. So you talk about what you hate about it, and I'm going to talk about what I love about it.
Why don't you start with what you like about it, then I'll say what I feel like doesn't work, and then Justin can rebut that. That way we're not just showering it with praise and then pooping on it all night, you know?
Okay, so my argument for GoldenEye, and I think I'm probably with you, Justin. I feel that it probably, especially on a Nintendo list, deserves to be pretty high. Because one, it was really the original first-person shooter on consoles, right? Like it did like Halo before Halo was even Halo, you know, like it set the bar for first-person shooters, and it wasn't really until Halo that anything, you know, unseated it. So that would be my argument for GoldenEye. I know that it hasn't aged well, but it was the best that there was, and for probably all of us old folks, I put thousands of hours into GoldenEye. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Steve, Lucas, go.
Okay, well, my first point is, because we seem to jump back and forth with this a lot. We jumped back and forth when we were doing the first list, and we're doing it now. We tend to argue that, like, the game is what it is now, and the game was what it was then. And those are both valid points, because I don't think Ocarina of Time would be, like, top-tier list if we were rating it, like, compared to most modern games now. But... yeah. I do point out the fact that there are a lot of broken aspects of GoldenEye, like the little, what's his face? The dude that like you can't shoot because he's tiny, and it just like completely breaks multiplayer. Yeah, and that's a minor complaint, like in the overall scheme.
Completely break multiplayer?
Well, it makes it incredibly hard to hit him because he's like half the size of a regular.
You got a much greater chance of getting a headshot.
But I don't want to jump on that. But I don't want to jump on that point because that's such a straw man argument over my larger point,
right?
Which is that it just hasn't aged very well. And I understand that, like, for its time, it was one of the most revolutionary games that, had ever been created. But we have other shooters on this list, like, and not just first person, but just other shooter games in general. And I feel like we would all argue that Metroid Prime is a better game than GoldenEye. Now, that could mean that Metroid Prime is number 6 and GoldenEye is number 7, but just personally, like, I just don't see it as being a very good game. Like, there's so many better first-person shooters out there. It was a great game at the time, but I just feel like there's so many better games on this list than GoldenEye.
And you may be right. I'm certainly not arguing for. I mean, GoldenEye might be in my personal top 10. I don't think it should be in this all-time top 10, but I think GoldenEye kind of belongs there along with ARMS and Splatoon in kind of genre-defining games that are kind of their own thing. I mean, GoldenEye, it's so hard to argue for GoldenEye without making the same arguments. I can play GoldenEye today and still find fun. Yeah, the graphics are crummy. Yeah. All N64 game graphics are crummy. All PlayStation 1 game graphics are crummy. That doesn't mean they're bad games. That just means they did what they could with the technology they had back then.
Of course.
The controls are still super tight. I can whip around corners in GoldenEye without feeling like I'm missing a second joystick or anything like that. The AI was the best for any first-person shooter at the time. I mean, I would argue I would rather have Perfect Dark's AI in GoldenEye's game, but that's a completely different, hypothetical argument. Hell, if GoldenEye had better level design and frame rate, I would actually have that on the list instead of GoldenEye. But I mean, multiplayer, God, like Eugene said, just the thousands of hours I poured into
literally thousands for me.
Yeah, GoldenEye multiplayer. We'd start playing, 4 o'clock when we got home from school, and would continue playing into 2 o'clock in the morning because it was that fun. And if you put me in the room with those two guys again and turn on the TV, we could do it again.
Can I raise a counterpoint to that, though?
Yeah, hit it.
Like, as somebody who didn't grow up with it and first played it a couple of years ago, I just found it lacking in a lot of ways because there are so many better games out there now. And I feel like, and I don't want to like insult you in saying this, but I feel like there's like a nostalgia thing going on with you.
Well,
your love for this game. And that's
okay. Here's another thing that I think GoldenEye has that a lot of modern first-person shooters don't have.
Yeah.
One great thing about the level design is you're in and out in about 15 minutes. After, once Halo hit, there was no limit. Every first-person shooter, you spent an hour or more in every level. And GoldenEye was great for those kind of quick bursts plays that you can't really get in first-person shooters anymore.
And I want to say real quick before you jump in, Lucas, I'm sorry. I did enjoy the mission structure, which I don't think we've talked about either. I don't really see that.
Another innovation.
I don't really see that in first-person shooters either. And I really actually do miss it where, like, on the easy difficulty level, there's only like 2 mission objectives. But then once you get to the hardest difficulty level, you have to do all these different things, but all in the same level. So what that did was, like, you start from the easy level and you kind of learn the area. And by the time you work your way up to the hardest difficulty, you know the area and you're able to, actually be able to deal with the enemy AI. I don't know. I could see it either way, guys. I
have a proposition. Well, can I throw this out here then? Eugene and Justin both seem to argue that objectively it's a good game. I'm arguing that objectively it's not that good of a game. Steve, have you ever played it?
GoldenEye I have played. I played it a lot.
What do you think of it? Like,
in
50 words or less. Because my point is, and I don't want to put you on the spot here, Steve, but my point is, if 3 out of 4 of us say that objectively it's still a really good game, then it should be higher on the list. If 2 of us say that it's a bad game and 2 of us say that it's a good game, it should be right around the middle of the list, is what I'm getting at.
I'll give you a chance in a second, Steve, but it kind of is in the middle of the list.
Well, but it's in the middle of the list right now, but we're arguing, but that's the thing, we're arguing about where it belongs. Like, it's in the middle of the list because we've made the list alphabetical. But like, now I want to know, do we keep it in the middle? Do we move it up higher? Like, we need to put it somewhere and get over this discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
So, okay, Steve.
So I have not played GoldenEye in years, but when I did play it, it was when, Nintendo 64, GameCube were both kind of out. I have very fond memories of it. I remember it being very solid and tight. I've never played the single player ever in my life. I've only played it exclusively as a multiplayer game with my half-brother and my stepbrothers. And for that, it's an amazing game. It got me to play the game. I remember the game. I remember the soundtrack. I remember it fondly, but I haven't played it recently, so to compare it to a lot of these modern games, I can only look back at it with rose-tinted glasses.
Sure.
All right, so for now, why don't we just leave it in the middle? It's in slot 11. It's kind of upper middle tier, and we won't push that down to Splatoon level.
Well, and I just, we just had this whole debate about GoldenEye, which is currently on spot 11, but we still haven't even finished discussing Pokemon or Resident Evil. Are those staying where they are? Because we're actually down in the 16 to 20 range.
Yeah.
Right now.
And I guess now's as good a time as any to have that discussion.
I definitely think Pokemon needs to go higher.
Agreed.
Yeah, Pokemon
maybe
I
even
can
top
see
10.
being top 10.
Well, why don't we make the discussion what 5 games need to be on this next tier lower then, right? Because we discussed that Pikmin probably deserves to be on this next lower tier, right? Did we kind of universally agree to that? So why don't we move that down to like at 20 or something like that? Let's. I
would say Animal Crossing.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah,
I was just going to say Animal
that.
Crossing.
It's a great game, but there are just better games.
It's a great experience. It's not much of a game.
Yeah.
And I would even argue that this might be the place where we throw Paper Mario. I would want it high on the list, but I think it could go here around Animal Crossing and Pikmin in terms of like enjoyability.
I'm okay with that.
Which one? Sorry.
Paper Mario.
Paper Mario.
Personally, I think it's like one of the best RPGs I've ever played, but there's a lot of love for Chrono Trigger.
I still kind of feel like Paper Mario belongs in 11 through 15, but that could also, again, be my limited experience in RPGs.
Can we put Paper Mario at 16 then?
That's a good placeholder for it.
Yeah. Okay. It's bothering me that Super Mario World and Super Metroid are both kind of in our area right now because we haven't moved them yet. Because those are both games that are going to be like really high on the list, I think.
Yeah, those are.
Let's just move them up there because that's where we're going to be arguing them anyway.
Can I ask the question that's going to get into another 20-minute discussion here? And yeah, I know, and you already know what it is. How do we feel about Breath of the Wild being around that area?
No, I don't think so. I don't agree with that. No.
That, I mean, again, that will definitely be on my personal top 10. I think that definitely belongs in the top 15.
Yeah, especially now that I've been playing it in master mode. I've already put another 25 hours into the game.
Then what about a game like Donkey Kong Country 2 or Chrono Trigger or Metroid Prime?
I feel here's a thought. Since we're talking about moving games down, why don't we figure out where Pokemon is going to go, and that'll kind of bump everything down, and then we can move into the next tier.
That's
Pokemon is 5 through 10
for me.
I would agree.
Yeah, for me.
I mean, my God, guys.
Yeah.
So then if we leave Resident Evil where it is, because I don't know about you guys, but personally I think there's much better games on this list. And I agree that Resident Evil 4 is the best Resident Evil game ever. But like I think Splatoon is a better game than Resident Evil 4. So I think it fits nicely where
agree.
it is. Do you guys agree?
Yeah. So
I'll be honest. As for the 6 through 15 part of the list,
you don't really care.
Yeah, I'm like actually kind of happy with. I mean, I would probably move Chrono Trigger down, but that's because I've never played it. I'm actually kind of happy with where things are laying right now. Like maybe move them up and down a notch.
I say swap Donkey Kong Country 2 and Chrono Trigger, just based on what I'm seeing right now.
I'm game for that too, but
I really don't care.
Let's get there when we get there.
Right.
Let's
okay. So
this next tier up, and then let's get to that next part because I'm thinking that Fire Emblem, Paper Mario, Animal Crossing, Pikmin, and I'm thinking that those are all kind of the list. Oh, and I guess Resident Evil 4, right? I mean, unless there's anything else you guys want to bump into that tier.
I would make the argument that Paper Mario goes above Fire Emblem, but I actually, I don't. Take that back. Just because, I realize that this is kind of a weak argument overall, but Fire Emblem just did so much for the series that I feel like it really deserves to be kind of at the top of this list.
Can I ask you a question, Lucas?
Yeah, be my guest.
Which, if you had to sit down and play a game right now, and would you rather play Fire Emblem or Paper Mario?
Fire Emblem.
Then Fire Emblem should be higher than Paper Mario.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would rather play.
Sorry,
Paper
not
Mario
to just kind of cut you off.
Start a Fire Emblem game.
I think the area where I can kind of talk objectively, I hope I'm being objective. I hope it's not just all bias, but I love both of those games. Like, I love Paper Mario. I love Fire Emblem. I've played Fire Emblem Awakening like 5 times all the way through. I've probably played Paper Mario about 10 times all the way through. I just...
quick question before we get into this debate. Are we discussing moving one of those out?
I think Resident Evil should... Oh, no, I think we're pretty much cemented at 20 through 16 being these 5 games, which, for those of you who can't see this in the podcast, are Resident Evil 4, Fire Emblem Awakening, Paper Mario, Animal Crossing, and Pikmin. My only argument would be that Resident Evil should go lower. I don't know if that's just because I don't really like Resident Evil as a series, but...
I think we can have that argument after we rank 11 through 15.
Well, no, but the time to do it is now.
Right now. Yeah, we need to do that right now. Yeah, that's how we.
Yeah, we need to get done with this, so then we don't have to focus on this tier anymore, and we can just do 15 through 11.
Right. Unless we're moving Paper Mario up out of this group, I don't really. I mean, it is such a genre mishmash in this like bottom half of the list that you can't even really objectively rank them. It just comes down to personal preference. Is Fire Emblem better than Animal Crossing? I don't know. If you don't like strategy RPGs, then no, you'd rather play Animal Crossing. But that's...
I guess the point I'm making is, does Resident Evil 4 really deserve to be on the top of this tier, above Fire Emblem, Paper Mario, Animal Crossing, and Pikmin?
My top of this tier personally would be Animal Crossing. So throw that monkey wrench in there. I don't know what that means for you. I have a lot of love for Resident Evil 4.
All right, let's compare apples and apples. Is Fire Emblem and Pikmin are both strategy games. One's turn-based and one's real time, but regardless. Is Fire Emblem better than Pikmin?
In my eyes, yes.
Okay.
In my eyes, yes, too.
Fire Emblem and Paper Mario are both role-playing games, turn-based role-playing games in one way or another. Is Fire Emblem better than Paper Mario as a role-playing game?
Yes.
I played more Fire Emblem than I did Paper Mario.
Okay, so we're okay with at least the ranking of those 3 games. Right now, we're trying to decide whether Resident Evil should be put below Paper Mario or stay where it is.
Well, frankly, my argument is that Resident Evil should be below Pikmin, but I don't know if you guys agree with that.
I have no opinion one way or the other.
My personal list would probably be Animal Crossing, Pikmin, then Resident Evil 4, then Paper Mario, then Fire Emblem Awakening, because I don't really have much left for Fire Emblem.
So Eugene is all for taking this entire list and turning it upside down.
Yeah, my list is exactly what we have here, just Resident Evil at the bottom. But
I would also have to agree that Resident Evil should be lower than Fire Emblem and Paper Mario. I can't talk to Animal Crossing because I haven't played it, and I can't talk to Pikmin because I haven't played it.
So can we put Resident Evil in the middle of this tier then? And call it a day?
I think that's probably fair. I think that's probably going to get us where we need to be.
That seems to be what we're leaning towards here.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Resident Evil is Resident Evil has a very limited appeal. You have to be into that genre, that genre of not only game, but that genre of storytelling to really appreciate it. Whereas the other games in this section of the list are pretty universal. Anybody can pick up and play it and either love it or hate it. And, yeah, beyond that, I have really no opinion on any of them because the only one I've actually played is Paper Mario.
I don't know about you guys. I'm trying to think of this without genres being like a part of this, and it's very difficult to do. But like, I'm trying to just think like objectively, which game do I think is the better game, and subjectively, which game do I enjoy the most, and that's how I'm kind of trying to like rank each game by tier.
Yeah, because like I mean,
I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but
yeah, because what is a top 100 list if not what Lucas just said? That's what you have to do at the end of the day. That's what we signed up for. So I think that's what we gotta do.
So why don't we walk away from this then and go on to 15 through 11?
Sure. And then, so what do we think needs to belong on this tier? Because it sounds like GoldenEye is going to end up here from the talks that we were just having before.
And we know that ARMS and Splatoon are both going to end up here.
Yeah.
What about Super Mario World? Like, I was playing it the other day, and I love it. I think it's like the best 2D Mario game. But I do feel like it's not like the game that I think we all necessarily think of sometimes. Like, it's a good game, but there are better games on this list that I would rather play.
So for my part, I was with Justin in thinking that Super Mario Brothers 3 is better than Super Mario World. So Super Mario World is kind of my token Super Mario Brothers 3, which I think is probably the best platformer ever. So if we're thinking that Super Mario World, which I think is head and heels, they're like toe and toe together, right? Super Mario 3, Super Mario World. I love them both the same.
Here's an idea. How about we just change Super Mario World into the compilation card Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World?
Oh God.
Well, and we'll rank it that way.
Well, my argument then, what I'm trying to get at is that I think that platformer, which is genre defined, like Super Mario World or Super Mario Brothers 3, belongs to be at the top of the list. And I know, Steve, you think that Donkey Kong is probably better than both of those games, but I think that I think that those types of platformers kind of maybe need to be on the next tier up, in my opinion.
I agree. I think Donkey Kong and Mario World are both top 10.
Let me just say I would be comfortable, and I know you guys are going to disagree, and I'm not arguing that this should be it, but me personally, I would be comfortable with this tier including Splatoon, ARMS, GoldenEye, Donkey Kong Country 2, and Chrono Trigger. Do with that what you will.
I would be okay
disagree
putting
on
Chrono
2.
Trigger in here. Chrono Trigger, it seems like that's kind of where it belongs. I don't know that Donkey Kong belongs here.
Yeah, and I'm willing to concede that too, because I love Donkey Kong Country 2.
Are we talking about swapping Donkey Kong and Chrono Trigger for right now then? Putting Donkey Kong
just put Chrono Trigger somewhere on this next list, and then we'll figure out how the list goes.
Okay, so then we need a fifth game, basically, is what we're talking about here. See, this is where it gets tough for me.
I'm actually fine with the 5 games that are in this tier.
I was going to say, I know Metroid Prime gets a lot of love. You guys know I hate it, and I can't be objective about it because I just think it's a bad game. I think it deserves to be above Super Metroid. I don't know how the community as a whole feels about that, but I don't think it really deserves to be any higher than it is right now. So.
Okay,
Metroid Prime? Yeah, I'm with you on that. Hell, I think GoldenEye is better than Metroid Prime.
I'm willing to concede that. Like,
let me have an argument here. So I think Metroid Prime belongs on this next tier. So how do we feel about moving one of Donkey Kong Country 2 or Super Mario World into this list and putting it at the top of the list in this tier, and then putting the other one somewhere on the next list? and then we can have the argument of Donkey Kong Country and Mario World right now.
Well, but you know what's going to happen in that argument. Steve is going to say Donkey Kong is better, and we're all going to say Mario World is better.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I mean, like you guys have made a lot of good arguments for Donkey Kong and against Mario that I'm kind of in agreement with.
Here. So yeah, I'm going to just go right across my screen and I'm going to ask you guys one question, and this goes back to my days at Nintendo Fever, so, sorry. But Eugene, all you guys, I want you to think about this. You're on an island, and for whatever reason, you can only save Donkey Kong Country 2 or Mario World. Eugene, do you save Donkey Kong Country 2 or do you save Mario World?
Probably Donkey Kong for me, because there's a lot more to do. There's a lot of collectibles that are actually enjoyable to do. There's a lot of interesting, like maybe not power-ups, but I like that there's a lot of like the animals that you can ride and stuff like that, which are kind of considered power-ups. So I would choose Donkey Kong for me.
Okay, so Eugene, you're Donkey Kong. Justin, you're next on my list. Donkey Kong.
The music, the atmosphere, the challenge. I mean, Super Mario World is pretty challenging, but Donkey Kong Country challenges you, but it's fair, but it's hard, and like Eugene said, the stuff you can unlock and all the achievements you can accomplish. I've done everything that can possibly be done in Super Mario World. I've never completed Donkey Kong Country 2. It took me over a decade to complete Donkey Kong Country 1, so I would still be playing that game.
Yeah.
Lucas, because I want to hear your vote.
Okay, well, let me preface this by saying that I'm willing to say that Donkey Kong Country 2 is the better platformer objectively. If I was on an island and I could only play one of these two for the rest of my life, I'd pick Mario World.
Okay.
I get bored with Donkey Kong Country 2, and I don't get bored with Mario. But again, that's personal preference. You've made a lot of good points for Donkey Kong Country 2. I honestly think that Mario World is probably the better game, at least for me. But they're both so good. I feel like there's a part of me that's nostalgia blinded by Donkey Kong Country 2. And maybe that's why I'm so hesitant to really give it a high score, because I don't want my nostalgia to interfere with like my objectivity. But I had a lot of fun with Donkey Kong Country 2 as a kid. That was like my platformer of choice. I still would prefer to be playing Super Mario World right now, but I'm willing to put it at spot 11. That being said, I think it deserves to be spot 11 if it's going to be in this tier.
Mario World or Donkey Kong deserves to be at spot 11?
Mario World.
Okay, and so for me, obviously Donkey Kong, and to your point, Lucas, I have completed Mario World 3, maybe 4 times that I can remember. I complete the entire Donkey Kong Country trilogy at least once a year.
And see,
that's one of those games.
My God, that's like your Lord of the Rings.
And I'm kind of the reverse there, Steve. I've played Mario World probably for as many years as I've been alive, and Donkey Kong Country 2, I think I've played to completion maybe 3 times. So yeah.
So based on that,
because of the soundtrack.
It's so good.
Yeah. So based on that, I would have to say Donkey Kong Country 2 at number 10 and maybe Mario World at number 11.
I don't even know if we want to put Donkey Kong Country 2 at number 10, but I think Mario World deserves to be at number 11. I think Donkey Kong Country 2 still has some fight in it. I
can get behind that.
Yeah. Like personally, I know I haven't really played it as much as I have like watched other people play it. But I might argue, like when we get into the next tier, that Donkey Kong Country 2 belongs above a game like Chrono Trigger. That's just me. But for now, I think Mario World goes at slot 11.
So yeah, so as far as the 11 through 15.
Hey, well let's try and nail it down. So it sounds like Mario World is going in here, right?
Yeah, Mario World needs to be number 11.
Okay.
Would you like to do the honors?
I don't think I'd ever see the day when a Mario 2D platformer, a classic Mario 2D platformer, gets bumped out of the top 10.
Let me just say, I think one of the biggest weaknesses with this list, and I think the list that we've started making individually too, because we love lists, is that they're all... Basically, what we do with these lists is we choose like the best game of the genre to avoid the list being too repetitive. And then
what are you doing?
we have that game basically represent the entire series, you know?
Sure.
So maybe we would say that Super Mario World and Mario 3 both deserve to be on this list. And then maybe we would say that Mario 3 deserves to be a lot higher up. But what we're doing is we're forcing ourselves to categorize all of the Mario 2D platformers by Super Mario World. We're doing the same thing with Pokemon. We're doing the same thing with Smash Bros. And Mario Kart 8. But that's just for the sake of...
Which is why I was kind of jokingly saying, let's, call Super Mario World that compilation cart, because really there needs to be a 2D Mario game on here, but, nobody can agree on which one's the best.
But that's the thing, and that becomes the problem with, I think, really almost all lists, which is why maybe for, like, episode 500, if we decide to do a list, maybe we should, like, rank series or something. That might be a fun way to do it, And I know that would be a shit show. But like to argue for the merits of every like 3D Zelda game versus every 2D Zelda game versus every 3D Mario, that's for a whole nother time. But for now, I think we've kind of got our list. And if nobody objects, I'll read it off.
For a slow news week.
Yeah, right. Well, I think let's read it off real quick then, because we do have listeners who are going to be completely confused trying to make out what we're doing here without visual.
And the chat is completely upset with my decision on that. Sorry, chat. But I was here last week, so screw you all.
The 5 games that we have in this middle tier are Super Mario World, GoldenEye, Metroid Prime, ARMS, and Splatoon. But now we have to rank these games, because we have to choose which one belongs at the top of the tier and which one belongs at the bottom. I argue for Mario World at the top, personally.
I agree.
I'm willing to concede that Metroid Prime is a much beloved game, and as much as I absolutely hate it, I'm willing to put it at spot 12. Although, do you guys think GoldenEye deserves to be above it? I know in the chat a lot of people were saying Metroid Prime is the better game, but what do you guys think?
Metroid Prime over GoldenEye, in my opinion.
That's kind of where I stand,
one half dozen of the other for me. I mean, they're both first-person shooters. The similarities end there. I mean, GoldenEye was really all about the quick reflexes, the multiplayer, all that, whereas Metroid Prime was all about taking it slow, exploration. It was only single player. Like, they're both so good at what they do. As for like a subjective personal opinion, I would much rather play GoldenEye than Metroid Prime, but I don't know if everybody agrees.
For me, I would go Prime above GoldenEye.
Okay, so let's put Prime above GoldenEye.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the group consensus. I mean, I know you probably don't agree with that, Justin, but you know.
I mean, the merits of Metroid Prime is it did kind of create its own subgenre that never existed. The first-person exploration, which has become, stuff like Skyrim and things like that. I mean, this idea of exploring a world in first person rather than just blowing everything up in first person.
Sure.
And I'm willing to put just going back to like this tier, I'm willing to put ARMS below GoldenEye because that seems to be where we would lean as a group. Personally, I think ARMS is better than GoldenEye and Metroid Prime, but I think ARMS deserves to be above Splatoon. Is what I'm
willing to put ARMS above GoldenEye.
I have no opinion because I've never played ARMS.
But GoldenEye above Splatoon.
Well, I'm good with that either way. I'm honestly very neutral on GoldenEye and Splatoon. Personally, I think ARMS belongs above it, but what do you think, Eugene?
I think it's good as is, to be honest with you. I think Splatoon belongs to be at the bottom of this tier. I think ARMS is kind of, fair or not, I think ARMS is kind of interlocked with Splatoon in our list, so I think it kind of deserves to be right next to it. Everybody's arguments about ARMS are valid, like it's new and everything. But for those who have played it as much, I know you've played it a ton, Lucas. I don't know what my play clock is, but I was looking at it like a week ago, and I know I was already at like 50 hours into the game, and that's a lot for a competitive game for me. So
I just want to say I actually think ARMS and GoldenEye have a lot in common.
Sure.
As I'm thinking about them, because they are both kind of, I mean, ARMS is admittedly a fighting game, but it's a very unique kind of fighting game. And I feel like they both are kind of like genre defining, admittedly, limited for what they are titles. So I think you could kind of put them in either spot, and it really wouldn't change much.
Well,
like personally, I like ARMS more than GoldenEye, but
my argument for GoldenEye above ARMS is that GoldenEye has a more robust single player than ARMS does. You know, like the ARMS single player it's hard. Like, don't get me wrong, it's really hard to get the rank 7 and beat it all the way through. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's as interesting as what GoldenEye was doing then at the time and even now. So I don't know.
That's fair.
For me, that argument doesn't mean anything to me, because what did I play in GoldenEye? The multiplayer. What do I play in ARMS? The multiplayer. So for me, it's kind of what Lucas was saying. They're the same thing.
Well, I mean, for me, I probably have played single player for GoldenEye as much as I played multiplayer. So, and since I don't have friends, single player is important for me. So if ARMS has like no worthwhile single player, or single player is basically just like playing multiplayer without the other person, which I don't know, never played it, but if that's the case, then I would definitely put GoldenEye above it, because I can, you know, play through a couple of levels in GoldenEye and be satisfied with my single player experience and not feel like I'm missing out on anything.
The way I'm justifying this is that, like, Time Splitters 3 for me, it's like my GoldenEye. It's very similar just in terms of like actual gameplay. And I don't really know much about GoldenEye's story mode because I've only ever done multiplayer. But I really enjoyed the fact that, well, yeah, but I mean, it's a game that we're reviewing, not the movie. And
I'm just saying, if you want the story for GoldenEye, watch the movie.
but I guess my point is that, yes, GoldenEye has a story mode to it, and that alone justifies, I think, being above ARMS. Personally, I would probably put Time Splitters above ARMS too. So that's how I'm justifying putting a game that I don't particularly enjoy over a game that has quickly become one of my all-time favorites.
I'll be honest, I almost put Time Splitters. I almost put Time Splitters 2 on the list for last week, so I'm totally with you on that one, Lucas.
Yeah, so I'm okay with this list as it is.
And Time Splitters actually has kind of a crappy single player story. But
that sounds good to me. I mean, it looks good to me at this point. Like, I think all the games on the list look hit it.
I want to object with Justin real quick.
All right. Let me qualify.
Time Splitters 3 has really good story mode. Time Splitters 2 story mode sucks.
All right, well, let me
Time
qualify.
Splitters 3 is the better game, and it's really good in single player. So play it, please. Play it.
All right. Well, I will definitely put that on my list. Let me qualify my statement by saying, on a level-to-level basis, Time Splitters 2 has an awesome single player. As a cohesive experience single storyline, Time Splitters is just a mess, like the whole franchise.
Well, Time Splitters ain't on this list, y'all, so let's move on to this. Can we solidify that 11 through 25 is pretty much locked in at this point?
I can't believe we moved Super Mario World out of the top 10, but,
now
I can't disagree with it.
I don't get Minecraft, so I get this.
In a super sexy voice, I will now read off for you listeners at home 11 through 15 on our list.
11 through 25.
Oh, you want to do 11 through 25?
Might as well. Yeah.
Okay, so this is where we've ranked the bottom few games then. Number 11 is Super Mario World. Number 12 is Metroid Prime. 13 is GoldenEye. 14 is ARMS. 15 is Splatoon. 16, Fire Emblem Awakening. 16, Fire Emblem Awakening. I don't know if I stuttered there. 17 is Paper Mario. 18, Resident Evil 4. 19, Animal Crossing. 20, Pikmin. 21, Star Fox 64. 22, Final Fantasy 6. That's Final Fantasy 3 in the US. Don't ask. 23, Kirby's Adventure. 24, Mario Maker. And 25, Xenoblade Chronicles. Again, we're sorry, everyone. We know it's your favorite game. So now we're on to the deathly hard part.
Final Fantasy 6 is only Final Fantasy 3 on the Super Nintendo. For every other release on the Game Boy Advance, on the PlayStation, everything, it was Final Fantasy 6. So
because it is Final Fantasy 6.
Right. So I don't see any need in qualifying that anymore. It's Final Fantasy 6. It was only known as 3 on the Super Nintendo, and then they changed it back.
Okay, so let me say this much now. I think we need to take the stars off the top 5 games for this next portion of the top 10.
Agreed.
I think that there's some maybe some changes to be made out of there. What do you guys think?
We don't think,
actually.
I was gonna say, we don't think anything 6 through 10 is going to crack the top 5. Is that what you're saying, Eugene?
No, I think that I would, for me, Pokemon is going to be, I would argue for in top 5. So that I would argue maybe Pokemon and Super Metroid, but those are the only 2 arguments I would have for some of the games to get into the top 5.
Quite honestly, I think the top 5 looks pretty solid. I might switch around Ocarina of Time and A Link to the Past, but
well, I'm okay with that too if you guys are in a consensus. But
I'm not okay with that.
But in terms of not the switching though, but just like keeping the list as it is up there. Like I think personally, those top 5 games aren't going to get bumped for me. What do you guys think?
The only way that I would bump anything out of the top 5. No, I don't even think I could do that. I was going to say, because you can't swap Pokemon for Mario 64. There's no way.
No.
The only way you could do it is if you take one of the Zeldas out and put Pokemon in.
And
and
that's a hard argument to make, because I think Link to the Past is the pinnacle of 2D Zelda, and Ocarina of Time is the pinnacle. No, I mean,
I'm looking at Mario Kart, y'all.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh God, I don't think so. I mean, each one of these games is just so iconic to like, I own a Nintendo system. This is what I play on Nintendo. Like, I mean, every Nintendo themed like get together either involves Mario Kart or Smash. I don't think you can really touch them.
Yeah.
I hate to disagree with you on that one, Lucas, but I have put more hours into either Pokemon X or Pokemon, whatever the last one is, Moon, than I have into my last 3 versions of Mario Kart.
Well, and I have too. I mean, you know where I sit on Pokemon, but that's the subject. Again, I keep bringing this up, but that's like the subjective part of the argument. Yeah, I feel objectively, Mario Kart is just so much more like
if you're
globally recognized and accessible, and just like
more than Pokemon though. I don't know about that. Pokemon.
If we're talking as far as like multiplayer experiences, though, I mean, you can only play Pokemon with one other person at a time.
Not true.
You can, I mean, Mario Kart, you can have like 3 or 4 people over, Smash Brothers, you can have 4, hell, you can get 9 people playing Smash Brothers all at once in the same room. I mean, that right there is a unique and just revolutionary experience right there.
Okay, so it sounded like we're not going to be moving this list, y'all. It sounded like the stars are the stars, is what I'm hearing.
I kind of think that's how it needs
I don't
to
think
be.
we're going to be able to make the argument to get Pokemon into the top 5.
I think it belongs right on slot 60.
Yeah,
like personally,
I'm definitely cool with keeping Pokemon at 6.
Okay, then if Pokemon's at 6, then I'm actually arguing Breath of the Wild at 6, but if we're saying Pokemon 6, then Breath of the Wild has to be 7.
I'm cool with that.
I'm willing to put Breath of the Wild at 7. I don't think it's the best game by far, but I mean, I'd probably rather play it than any of the other 3 games on the list.
And you got to remember, at number 7, it's still below A Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time, which I'm
that's the thing, yeah. And for me, it's like my 5th favorite Zelda of all time, so having it as the 3rd in the list is pretty fair, really.
Sure. Okay, well then let's go do that. So what do we think about 8, 9, and 10? Like, I'm thinking Chrono Trigger probably is the at the bottom of the list, right?
I agree.
I'm okay with that.
And now's the part where I would put Donkey Kong Country above Super Metroid, and I say that being a huge Metroid fan who thinks Super Metroid is one of the best games of all time.
I'm not arguing this, so I'm swapping it.
Donkey Kong Country 2, you guys just really sold a good point. Like, I mean, it's a good game, and I think they're both great. So honestly, I'm fine with putting it above.
Super Metroid, I find Super Metroid to be an acquired taste, even as a lover of the Metroid games. Super Metroid did not hook me like Zero Mission or some of the other Metroid games have. I just found like once you got, it was too easy to get lost, and it wasn't always rewarding to find when to found your way.
Well, I think we all kind of agree that it belongs where it belongs, right? So I don't know if we really have to keep tearing into a game that I really like.
No, Metroid, in my opinion,
and it's a must-play game.
What was that, Steve?
I said, in my opinion, Metroid in general is an acquired taste.
Well, yeah, but you have
Harrison.
kind of a Metroid bias. So, like, I mean, like, you know, in the same way that I have kind of a GoldenEye and Chrono Trigger bias. Like, there are games that we're not going to enjoy, but you know, I don't know. I'm trying to think like a group of Nintendo fanboys right now.
Sure. Which
So
we basically
are
are,
we-
I guess.
Are we ready to set 6 through 10 in stone already?
I think we
so.
are.
I think so. Why don't you read that for us, Justin? 6 through 10.
Oh, we're not going to have Lucas do it? All right, sure. Why not?
I mean, let somebody else, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Infendo 25 Nintendo games of all time. Starting with number 6, Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Number 7, Zelda Breath of the Wild. Number 8, Donkey Kong Country 2. Number 9, Super Metroid. Number 10, Chrono Trigger. Should I go to the bottom of the list?
No.
No,
I think we're
that's fine.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, number 11 through 25. Listen till the end of the show.
So here's where I am, guys. Like, personally speaking, I would switch Ocarina and A Link to the Past, but I'm willing to not. I think the top list looks pretty damn perfect. I would argue tooth and nail that Super Mario 64 deserves to be the #1 game. Like,
I was actually going to say bumping it down because, I mean, I love Super Mario 64. In fact, I'm replaying it again for the first time in years and still loving it. But it's rough around the edges.
See,
which can be said about Ocarina of Time as well.
Well, and A Link to the Past, frankly. I mean, like, all 3 of them are older games, and I mean, if we're taking that into account, are a little rough around the edges. But I don't know. I just think it's the best of the 3, personally.
So it sounds like those are going to be the top 3, though. Can we agree on that? Maybe Smash and Mario Kart don't belong in the top 3.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Willing to make that concession. Okay, can we just do a quick poll and figure out 2D versus 3D Zelda? Because I think you guys prefer 2D. I prefer 3D. I always rank 2D Zelda games lowest on my list. But
okay,
can we just have the discussion real quick and not make it a huge ordeal?
All right. As a general rule, as far as overall enjoyment, game per game and whatnot, I'm with you, Lucas. 3D is definitely the bigger, more immersive experience, and I would much rather play, if I were to sit down and commit myself to a Zelda game, I would much rather do it on a 3D game like Ocarina than on A Link to the Past. However, A Link to the Past is such a solid game, and it laid the groundwork of every Zelda game that followed it until Breath of the Wild kind of broke the mold. And it did it for being the first game and the first Zelda game to use that formula. It was pretty much perfect from the get-go. And I mean, the story was great. The world was fun to explore. The dungeons were brilliant. The difficulty was, and that's another thing, is Link to the Past actually gets pretty difficult towards the end. Ocarina of Time, as long as you're picking up heart containers, you could completely destroy Ganon without using a single fairy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and A Link to the Past, Ganon is still a pretty tough contest, even if you know what you're doing. I just think A Link to the Past did everything right, and even though Ocarina of Time did as well, Link to the Past did it first.
I think for me, like, again, subjectively speaking, Ocarina of Time just has a lot more that grabs me. The characters are more interesting. The environments are more interesting. I have more fun. Well, hold on just a sec, though. Like, I have more fun playing Ocarina of Time than I do playing A Link to the Past. Ocarina of Time is the one that I usually pick up when I'm bored. A Link to the Past is the one that I say, like, I feel like a challenge. Let's play A Link to the Past. Objectively, I think you're right. I think A Link to the Past is like the first true Zelda game compared to, you know, some of the older entries that just aren't really Zelda. And I think it does get props for that. And that's why I'm not, like, furious at the thought of putting A Link to the Past above Ocarina of Time. I think we can do it. If this was my list, it wouldn't go there, just because all 2D Zelda games for me, including A Link to the Past, are just, they're more boring. Like, there's something about that formula for me that doesn't work. And I've played a ton of A Link to the Past.
Well, I think for the sake of 2D Zelda games are more of a game, whereas 3D Zelda games are more of an experience.
I guess I can agree with that. I'm just saying that I'm perfectly fine with putting A Link to the Past above Ocarina of Time, is what I'm trying to get at. It's not my choice, but I agree with the
get my piece in here just to answer your question, Lucas, about
you can get your piece in wherever you want, Eugene.
Well, I'm trying, but y'all keep blabbing your fucking mouths. 2D versus 3D, that's, you can't, you said for me to answer that question without a big elaborate conversation. Well, I can't do it. Neither can Justin, obviously. Like, that's a really hard conversation for me to have, you know, like
I can do it.
I don't know.
Steven, not part of this conversation.
I really don't know which one I would pick first. Like, I would much, it just depends on my mood, right? So, like, I can't say one way or the other. On this list, I'm gonna agree with Justin, because Link to the Past did everything that Ocarina of Time did, right? Just in a 2D space, but it did it first, and it did it well. You know, like, I mean, Ocarina of Time did some different things that obviously Link to the Past couldn't do because it was on a 2D plane, sure, but like, it set the formula for what all Zeldas would pretty much do and still do now, you know, barring Breath of the Wild, since it broke the formula again. But like, that you know, that was the blueprint for Zelda for the longest time. Link to the Past, you know, 2D or 3D. And I think it deserves recognition because of it.
I will say, you know, that I'm agreeing with that point, right? That I'm
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say that as far as dungeons go, Ocarina of Time definitely beats A Link to the Past. Ocarina of Time has amazing dungeons. The overworld, like actual exploration and everything like that, Link to the Past has it. Ocarina of Time just feels so empty most of the time.
So
go ahead, Steve, since you haven't said.
I was going to say, if I can answer the question at hand, I am looking from when I did my list at my top 5 Zelda games. And I, for a long time, thought I was a 2D Zelda person. My top game is Link's Awakening. My other 4 in my top 5 are all 3D games. So by default, that makes me a 3D person.
Well,
but there've been a lot more of the 3D. I mean, all right. I mean, yes, the Capcom games exist. They're thing. They're canonical. But I always feel like the Capcom developed Zelda games feel a little off. The Oracle games and Minish Cap, they were great games. They never felt like Zelda to me. So to me, the 3D to 2D argument is really quantity. There are a lot more like amazing 3D Zelda games than there are amazing 2D Zelda games. But a couple of those 2D Zelda games are pretty
it sounds like we're all making the same argument here, guys, right?
I feel like A Link's Awakening beats out Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, so let's move.
Wait, what?
A Link to the Past.
Whatever. They're all the same.
So, what do we think about 4 and 5? Like, I objectively would rather play Smash than Mario Kart, but as a, you know, as a Nintendo game, as like a Nintendo fanboy podcast, I can see that Mario Kart has way more appeal than a Smash Brothers game does. But like, do we want to move those at all? Do we want to leave them as is?
Yeah, I actually think Mario Kart 8 deserves to be above Smash 4. Just like they're both great games and they both represent great franchises. I think Mario Kart 8 does a lot more to advance the series forward and really perfect the formula than Smash 4 does. And I guess it's like a last point of contention. I think it's pretty much agreed by a majority of Mario Kart players that 8 is like the definitive version. Smash 4 still has contention with Melee fanboys. I think it's the best version.
Yeah, you can't please Melee fanboys.
Well, but the thing is, there are people that argue that Smash 4 isn't the best game of its genre. And I think overall, people tend to think that Mario Kart 8 is the best game of its genre, with exceptions, clearly. So that's why I would put Mario Kart 8 above Smash 4.
Okay, you convinced me.
I mean, the only argument I would make about Smash is that there are near infinite ways you can play it. If you like, for example, I like the insanity of having items and having the environmental hazards and having, the various handicaps and stuff like that. You guys tend to like the tournament play with a flat world and no items and stuff like that. There's the HP, the stamina mode. There's, playing with various levels of not handicap, but damage, which items you have on, which items you have off, which stages you use. I mean, the only argument I would put in for your consideration for Smash being above Mario Kart is its flexibility. You can make Smash the game that the better game than Mario Kart with the options that they give you.
That's fair. I still don't know if it really beats out the overall argument, though. I mean, right. there is stuff that you can do to customize your Mario Kart 8 experience when you're playing with people. Like, you can set a tournament to be, like all explosive giant items, and you can do battle mode, you can do time trials. It's not as all-encompassing as Smash 4, but I think it has enough features that doesn't completely dwarf it out when we're comparing the two,
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I am fine with them either way, and I'm actually probably leaning more towards Kart being above Smash, but I just wanted to kind of throw that argument in there in case anybody else agreed with it.
Yeah,
I guess for the same reason Mario Maker is down towards the bottom of the list because of its customizability. You can break Mario Maker to make it not fun anymore. You can break Smash to make it not fun anymore by, taking out all the items and playing on a flat world.
Or putting in all the crappy items and playing on gimmicky worlds. Yeah, no, totally get it.
Okay, so it sounds like that's going to be set there. Where did Phantom Hourglass come from? I'm a little
there
confused.
It is. I was wondering when you were going to notice that. Don't look at me. It wasn't me.
Well, it does have the best graphics of any handheld video game. So.
I hope you can see my eye roll.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
I'm looking through the chat to see if Mike happened to notice it.
No, I don't. I'm not screen sharing, so nobody's getting the fucking joke.
Can I start soapboxing for Mario 64, please? Can I do my little argument here?
Well, so first, does that mean that we're probably going to leave Ocarina of Time at 3? Then is that what's happening here? Okay,
yeah, that's good for me.
Get on your soapbox then.
Okay, and again, these aren't all necessarily points I agree with, but I think they're points that deserve to be raised all the same. It's objectively the game that created 3D Mario games and pretty much defined what a 3D platformer game should be in general.
A 3D anything game.
It's one of the most beloved games of all time. It's such a tight game that to this day people speedrun it, and there's a huge community for it. I think more than just about any other game. It's a game that can be enjoyed at the most competitive level, at the simplest level. It doesn't require you to 100% to beat it, but it gives you the option. There's so much customization in the way that you approach the game. You can pretty much choose whatever challenges you want to complete. It doesn't force you into any kind of shoehorned experience. It's just so unlike any other video game, even by today's standards when we're talking about 3D games, that I feel like it deserves the spot where it's at. It stands as a historical game. It stands, in my opinion, as a modern game. And while it doesn't even touch my top games personally, I think when we're talking about the best game of all time, it just deserves to be where it's at. I think compared to the other games on the list, Mario 64, despite your own personal preferences, is just like one of the best games Nintendo has ever produced on a Nintendo system.
I definitely don't have a strong enough argument against you. So, Justin, if you want to take a stab at it, go ahead.
No, actually, I was going to actually add to what Lucas was saying that even well, it's the top game on the list, and I think we're all in agreement of it. So let's gush about it for a little while.
Sure.
Super Mario 64. Yep. For being one of the first fully 3D games ever made, still looks good. The simplicity of the graphics are in its favor. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's low poly. Yes, it's the textures are low resolution and few and far between. But because of that, it has this timeless, cartoony look that works not only for a Mario game and as a franchise, but it makes the game timeless. I mean, we were talking about Super Mario 64 DS earlier. It might have been before the show, and they improved the graphics on Super Mario 64 DS. And honestly, I couldn't care less. I still play Super Mario 64 on my big screen TV and think it looks phenomenal in 480p.
Well, before Steve jumps in here and tries to tell us why Shovel Knight should be at number 1 or something.
I wasn't going to go with Shovel Knight, but yeah, I'll get there.
I want to agree with you guys on all points, and I literally have no argument against it. I think Link to the Past is a great game, but what Mario 64 did for not only the Mario genre, but for just 3D in general, like it pretty much defined how gaming companies did 3D cameras, right? When you think about it, like so, I have no arguments against that game. So Steve, why don't you get your piece in?
Hang on, I'm Googling something as we speak. I am Googling the list of best-selling video games of all time, according to Wikipedia, the source of all knowledge and truth. Lucas already knows where I'm going with this.
Yes.
Minecraft, Jesus Christ. Get this shit out of here.
Minecraft is number 2 on the list, only to Tetris.
Okay, so. and let me also argue that second only to Tetris, Minecraft has been on the most different platforms. So I mean,
also correct.
Yeah.
I mean, if you put it on everything, everyone's gonna play it, like your mom.
I guess the counterpoint. Oh, come on. The counterpoint to that, because I disagree with you, Steve, just in terms of like how I feel about Minecraft. I admit that it's a great game, and I did argue for it to stay on the list, as you'll recall in the last episode.
I do.
But it should have stayed on the list. I'm with you.
The counterpoint to Minecraft being on every system, so of course it's going to sell more, is it's also a good enough game that, it sees success on every platform and manages to sway a large audience, no matter what system it's on. That being said, Minecraft isn't even up for debate in this particular topic, but we all know you love it, Steve.
Yes, we all know you love it. So, since I can't have Minecraft in the top 5, then Mario 64 has to take it. It is, if it's between Mario 64 and A Link to the Past, it's got to be Mario 64 on number 1, unless y'all are willing to flip Ocarina of Time and
I don't like to base lists like this on like ticket sales or stuff like that, because like fucking Transformers is like one of the best selling movies of all time, and
I'm actually not. I just threw that in as a complete joke.
Okay.
But, as if Ocarina of Time is number 3 and Link to the Past is number 2, then by default, Mario 64 has to be number 1. There's no debate.
So, guys, this is the first time in Infendo history that we've all agreed on something. And I think even Mike would agree on it, because I know Mike loves this game. So, like, I'm hoping that all 5 of us maybe come together and form, like, the happiest Voltron.
Now...
I've never watched Voltron. Can we, go for like Power Rangers or Super Sentai or something?
I'm good with that. So now you guys know I come from a customer service background of where I'm not going to get into because I don't want to on this show. Since the listener is always correct by my background, Jacob says we must flip Link to the Past with Pokemon.
Oh gosh.
So the listener is always right?
Yeah, I like personally, and I know we've kind of already had this discussion, so I won't get way into it.
Right.
But yeah, I just like, I love Pokemon. You know, I love Pokemon. In my own list, it's not that high up, but it should be because it's an amazing game. And monster catching games are like one of my favorite subgenres of all time. But I just think that it's so hard to say at this point. The best games of all time are like all on this list, with the exception of a few like personal choices. Sure. But it's a good game. It's a really good game. I think A Link to the Past beats it out, though. Like, I just do. And we're going to have to agree that, you know, the way we did this with the tiers is the way that we're doing it. And what we've chosen is, you know, our top list of all time based on our little meta score of the four of us with a little soul input from Mike.
And the chat.
Yep, and the chat.
So, all right. Well, Steve,
I'm happy with the way the list turned out.
Steve, why don't you read the list for us?
Right. So, because I like to be different, starting at number 25 and working our way to the top.
To do it.
Number 25, Xenoblade Chronicles. Number 24, Mario Maker. 23 is Kirby's Adventure. 22 is Final Fantasy VI. 21 is Star Fox 64. 20 is Pikmin. 19 is Animal Crossing. 18 is Resident Evil 4. 17 is Paper Mario. 16 is Fire Emblem Awakening. 15 is Splatoon. 14 is ARMS. 13 is GoldenEye. 12 is Metroid Prime. 11 is Super Mario World, and it shocks me that it's that low on the list. Number 10 is Chrono Trigger.
You argued for it that low on the list.
I know. Sorry, number 10 is Chrono Trigger. Number 9 is Super Metroid. Number 8 is Donkey Kong Country 2. Number 7 is Breath of the Wild. Number 6 is Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Number 5 is Super Smash Bros. 4. Number 4 is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
So many numbers.
Number 3 is Ocarina of Time. Number 2 is A Link to the Past. And our number 1 game is Super Mario 64. Good Lord.
Can I just say before we start to close out and move on to change the system, which I assume we're still doing, that I think if we all decided to do this list a few months from now and we let like our memories wipe of this event, we could very easily have put like half of these games in a different list or had a totally different top 25 list, because they're all really good games. And I think lists like this are so subjective that you got to just take it as like a fun activity and know that maybe there are days when you will think one game is better than the other. I think overall our opinions would be kind of the same, but we could come back to this in a year and have like a completely different list. So it's not like we're saying that definitively by law, this isn't Splatfest. These are not the best games of all time now and forever. This is just episode 401, our little zeitgeist opinion.
Yeah, I remember I used to be a subscriber to Electronic Gaming Monthly, and it was issue 100. They did the top 100 games of all time, and Tetris was the top of the list, and which makes perfect sense. Like, same argument as Minecraft. It's on everything. It's fun on everything. You can't. It's timeless. Anyone can play it. You know, you can't beat it. And then, a few years later, when they did the list on, I think it was 150. All of a sudden, Super Metroid is the number 1 game of all time. Now, Super Metroid was on 7 in the first list they did, and then suddenly it jumps up to number 1. Now, I don't know where it would place now. It's probably, way back in 15 if they're, because, we're, of course, a multi-platform publication. But, to, like, Lucas was saying, what our best games are right now could be completely different a year from now, not only because new games come out, but because you start to look at certain games in a different light.
And certain trends that are happening in the industry, and like how nowadays there's so many different Super Metroid games that's probably why Super Metroid is low on our list, right? Because there's a Super Metroid alike coming out every other day. So
see, and I don't play a whole lot of them because as much as I loved, the first and fourth and fifth Metroid games, those being, of course, the original, Fusion, and Zero Mission. I guess I'm kind of leaving out the Prime games. But as much as I loved those games, it's not a genre that's ever really completely hooked me. I don't like wandering aimlessly for hours on end. When I played Super Metroid for my retro review, I was totally using SNES maps and save states and all that stuff because the game drove me absolutely bonkers. I would never have been able to play it back on the Super Nintendo.
Let's not forget, too, that this was a really big year for two of probably the biggest Nintendo franchises of all time. We had Breath of the Wild, which has completely, for good or for bad, shaped our entire opinion of every Zelda game and forced us to reanalyze what we think of a Zelda game. And we have Super Mario Odyssey coming out, which has a fair deal of hype to it. I don't think that affected our decision for... I'm Italian. I talk with my arm.
I wasn't even looking at the video. I'm just dancing to the theme song.
Oh, okay. But yeah, and I don't think that affected our opinion of Mario 64 as the #1 game, but it very well could have in some subconscious way because we're all very excited for Mario Odyssey. And in the same way, I think that maybe the reason we have two Zeldas right up there at the top has something to do with the fact that we're all getting off of a really big Zelda high. So,
Lucas,
I'm sure that...
Lucas, I'll be your one-up girl.
Oh, gosh.
Well, maybe that's as good a place as any to cut all this drivel and give us a moment to prepare for change the system. I don't know, Eugene, you're in charge. What do you think? I don't know why I'm doing this.
I was going to say, you've pretty much been leading this whole section.
I've been very talkative tonight. I'm sorry. I know I've been like 90% of this group's voice.
It's because Eugene actually said your name once for once. So
yeah, my senpai noticed me, so now I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're right. I think that we ought to let Steve say his last piece here about the list before we move on, because I've already said mine. And y'all definitely said yours. So why don't we shut up and let Steve have a moment?
I'm happy with it. Thank God it's over. I do actually want to do a shameless plug. A lot of you know I wasn't on 400 because I was on vacation. Because of that kind of spurred me to write a top 25 list of my favorite games, which is different from this list. This was more of a best games. Mine is a favorite games. So if you guys want to see that, it went up at infendo.com today. Lucas has one going up. When does yours go up, Lucas? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
And then I think Eugene is what, Friday?
Friday.
So yeah, so look for those to come out because you'll find that, yes, we were all on this panel and did this list, but I think you'll find that we all have such different tastes on what we felt should have been on our lists.
Sure. Awesome. Well, I think that's enough said about fucking lists. Let's not talk about the lists ever fucking again. But we are going to move on, y'all, to Infendo Change the System. Before we do any of y'all need a little break before we talk about some of the games we've been playing?
Yeah, I need to go take some Tylenol.
Okay, cool.
So are we officially in break mode?
Sure, why not? Lucas, is there any possible way you can tilt your camera so that we're looking at you? Yeah, this whole time I've been looking at you from here up and then about.
Thank you for not telling me until an hour and a half into 2.5 hours into the podcast, Justin.
I figured I was the only one who was bothered by it. So if you didn't want to fix it or couldn't fix it, you didn't have to. But
this is kind of a more flattering angle, actually. I don't know. I just don't pay that much attention to how I look, I guess. I do
I couldn't tell. All I could see was your ceiling.
I do sincerely hope that I didn't interject too much in this show. I know I was really talkative this time, so I'm sorry.
I think that's the only way that it's going to work in times like this in a list. You have to get your words in, and it's you got to make yourself.
All right.
Why are we looking at Eugene's crotch? Somebody tell me why we're looking at Eugene's crotch.
Oh wait, you don't. What's
yeah, wrong? We do kind of have a crotch shot going on there, Eugene.
You don't like that? Is that the wrong angle? That's my good side, guys.
Well, that's
I'm wearing
debatable.
shorts. I can point my camera up them if this is where we're going.
Oh dear God.
No, I don't think so. I think we're all trying to struggle to find our voice there, and that's just what's going to happen at times.
Right.
This.
I just didn't want you to think that opinions, so. I just didn't want you to think that I was like hijacking the podcast or something, because I do kind of feel like I took a lot of liberties tonight. But
no, I got to run to the bathroom real quick. But I just want to say, no, you actually were a pretty good moderator. you played it pretty fair and balanced,
even though nobody asked me to be.
Works
Lucas, to be fair, if you weren't as vocal as you were, we probably would still be sitting at 24.
Mm.
Do we want to go back to 24?
I had a lot more. I had a lot more fun. Like, I enjoyed episode 400, but I had a lot more fun doing this list with you guys than I did with that monstrosity of a beast that we were working with last time.
It's because I'm here. I know. It's you.
Well, you are kind of a good. I'll be honest, Gentis. Are you still listening? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can always hear you. I just can't always talk. I'm running to get a blanket because I'm shaking.
That's creepy. Well, I'll tell you then, and you can just not respond, I guess. That you're actually kind of like the wild card for me. To a degree, you are too, Eugene. I find Justin, pretty much I know what Justin's going to be talking about when he talks about it. And I think I'm fairly predictable because I'm pretty vocal about what I like and don't like. But I think out of everyone, Gentis, you're probably the biggest wild card when we're not talking about Shovel Knight or freaking Minecraft. Because I never know where you're going to be. I never know if you're going to
Believe it or not, there are other games I play.
Well, I was prepared for you to make a really big argument toward A Link to the Past over Mario 64, and then to have to shoot that down and counterpoint it. You totally stunned me when you also voted for Mario 64.
Well, and the other thing too is I was actually going to vote for Ocarina of Time to be above A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have had a majority vote, so I didn't even bother voicing the point.
Well, and that's my thing.
Ocarina beat out A Link to the Past on my list, on my Zelda list.
Same here. And I won't get into my list because I kind of want it to be a surprise tomorrow, but my number 1 and number 2 games are both games that didn't even scrape this list. I didn't even propose my number 1 most loved game of all time. I have very bizarre taste when it comes to video games, I think.
Right.
So I guess shameless plug there for anybody that's listening. But did you see my top choices?
I did. I actually read your article. I thought it was really good. I can't wait for the listeners to get to read it tomorrow.
I hope they enjoy it.
I hope they read it. You guys, you really need to go to the website. We're working on getting more content on there. Eugene and I were talking about that tonight, and there's going to be some really good stuff going up.
And also, I used my list as an opportunity toward the end to kind of discuss my overall opinion on Breath of the Wild in 3 paragraphs. I think it'll surprise you because I think that I generally have the mask of being the guy who hates Breath of the Wild, and that's not really true. So hopefully you guys will check out our articles, and hopefully you'll check out mine tomorrow, and you can kind of see where I'm coming from when I dig on Breath of the Wild a little bit.
Well, now I feel like I need to put all this stuff in the actual show, so let me make a little bookmark here.
Hey, Eugene.
What did I miss?
I was just going to ask Eugene a question. Eugene, were you watching my face when you said Donkey Kong?
Watching your what? I'm sorry.
Were you watching my face when you actually said that Donkey Kong was the game that you would have picked? I was floored.
No.
I thought for sure you would have went with Mario World.
Yeah, I was actually kind of waiting for somebody else to jump on the Mario World.
So yeah, when it was Donkey Kong, I was like, well, that went better than I expected.
Yeah, even I think objectively, Donkey Kong Country 2 might be the better game. I don't know if I enjoy it more personally, but it's a really good game, and there's a lot of good stuff to it. It's a good game, dude. And I think, too, I know we have some disagreements in the chat, but Donkey Kong Country 2 is, the best Donkey Kong Country.
Well, I think so, too.
Yeah.
I was legit worried. Jacob is mad at me until I said something else later on in the show. I'm like, oh, God, this is going to be a nightmare playing Minecraft more.
I do find it kind of ironic that most of the games that I've put over 1,000 hours into, Pokemon and Monster Hunter, aren't even games that I wanted to argue with or put higher up. Sometimes, I love me some Pokemon, but
Sometimes a game that you play a lot, you don't play a lot because it's the best game. You play it because it's comfort food.
Sure.
And I mean, that was Breath of the Wild for me for a lot of it. I mean, I loved the game, but I knew that I could play it and explore for an hour or two and not be bored. Yeah. Even though there are Zelda games that I think, like we've discussed, story-wise and, dungeon-wise and stuff like that are much better than Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, I knew that I could always turn it on and have something to do for a couple of hours.
Yeah. So. Well, it looks like Eugene is about to usher us back in. So
yeah, I was just about to say, so why... I am actually going to put a lot of this discussion in the actual show at some point or another, but I figure we ought to get on with Infendo Change the System, talk about the games we've been playing this week. So what do y'all say?
Sounds good.
What is on Justin's face?
It is the microphone. It's the boom mic on the headset that I'm using for earphones that broke. It didn't break off, but it for some reason the cord came out just slightly enough that it's dangling, and I don't have my fidget cube right now, so this is my toy.
I love that you're the oldest member of the group and yet also like the silliest.
Okay, I spend the majority of my life with a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, so it's funny because when I'm with them, I'm going absolutely out of my mind and I cannot have fun. But once they're gone, I'm like, woohoo, I can be a kid now.
I feel like I've spent the majority of my life as a 7-year-old, so I get it.
Yeah. Okay, well, Lucas, you've brought us this far. Why don't you bring us back into Infendo Change the System?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Infendo Radio. Your hostess with the mostess are here tonight to abruptly and without warning tell you about the video games they've been playing in Infendo Change the System.
Wouldn't it be hostesses?
Hostesses, I like that more, but that also sounds like food stuff, so I'm not really sure.
I like food.
That's true. Anyway, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I'm so sorry. You picked a very strange episode. What we do is we talk about games we've been playing because we're a video game podcast. And I guess I'll go first since I'm talkative as hell tonight. Yeah. So before we started, I started playing Sonic 2. I'm going to pretty much leave that alone because Eugene is here and he hates me. I'm really hyped.
I hate Sonic.
I'm really hyped for Sonic Mania next month. So I'm going to be in like a classic Sonic phase for like the next month. So Eugene, just buckle down because I haven't been this excited for a game since I was excited for Breath of the Wild. I did stop playing Breath of the Wild last week in like a tantrumy hissy fit after I couldn't get it pulled from the top list. Eugene has started playing now. I'm at 71 shrines in master mode. I want to beat Eugene, so I'm probably going to start playing Breath of the Wild again, but I haven't done that much of that. I have been doing a lot more Monster Hunter lately, though, and that's probably not going to interest that many people because I don't think many people here play Monster Hunter, but it's like one of my favorite games of all time, and I'm working on my... Yeah, you had a wonderful time in it. Basically got to when Mario sees the goopy piranha plant at the start of Mario Sunshine. That's the equivalent of where you are in Monster Hunter.
That sounds about right.
Me and Mike and Steve kind of each started up we started our second account. Steve started his first, and that was kind of our walkthrough with Steve into the world of Monster Hunter. Now that I've kind of been playing by myself, I've just been kind of advancing my own secondary character. And I've got 80 hours in my secondary account, but I'm having fun. I'm making costumes, which is cool. And Mike is flexing on Justin's screen, which is interesting.
Oh, he shared that with all of us, so you can enjoy that at home.
I don't know what you think he's flexing in that picture, Lucas.
I don't want to know what he's flexing in that picture, but I figured everyone in the chat should see what we're being exposed to.
I'm not going to take up too much more time because I don't really feel like many of my video games are that interesting. I do have a big Pokemon battle coming up with Steve soon that I have not prepared for, so I have a lot of grinding to do in Pokemon. But I challenged him 3 weeks ago, and we kept pushing it back because of vacations and podcasts and stuff. So hopefully this weekend or sometime relative, we can actually do that, and I can tell you how much I beat his little butt in Pokemon, even though he's wearing a Pokemon shirt tonight. I'm a little intimidated. But speaking of Pokemon, I feel like my big announcement for gaming this week was I did Pokemon Go.
Yeah,
I did legendary raids.
Go.
I caught an Articuno, and I'm happy with that. I have this one friend, shout out to him. He will probably never hear this, but Tony, who I work with, and he is a Pokemon Go nut. Like, he went on 40 raids yesterday.
Damn.
He caught 5 Lugias. He caught 6 Articunos. I managed to get 1. I did about 7 raids total. It's hard. It's really hard, but it's fun. Pokemon Go is one of those games that's so boring when you're by yourself. And the way I pass time in it, because I'm Team Instinct, and we have a player base of about like 1/10 of everybody else, is I like to go in and try to take as many gyms as I can and hold them as long as I can, because it's a futile effort, because we just get overwhelmed by everyone else's numbers.
Is Instinct the yellow one?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's how I have fun by myself. Justin, don't say it. Don't talk about having fun by yourself.
Sorry, I was reading the chat, which is just as bad.
But anyway, that's what I do in Pokemon Go when I'm by myself. When I'm with a friend, it's so much more fun, and that's really like how I feel like this game is supposed to be played. We've got this whole group organized through like this Facebook mobile thing that he's like the lead on, and I just tag along for like the ride. And like we'll be riding from Lugia to Articuno raid like over and over again, meeting up with all these people that you start to recognize. Like all the cable guys are slacking off at work and playing Pokemon Go instead of filling their quotas. There's so many Bright House Network employees who are like slacking off and like playing Pokemon Go all day. It's beautiful. But like playing with a friend is just so much more fun. We drive around together, we catch Pokemon, we hatch eggs, and we get to like compare our stats. And that was really what got me into the game in the first place, was playing with Mike, even though we live in different states, and like comparing what we do, you know?
Infendo Radio does not condone the use of Pokemon Go while you drive.
Of course not. It's a terrible thing that no one should ever do, but people do it all the time. Anyway, yeah, that's about it. I haven't been playing many new games because I'm trying to save my money because money's getting tight. But I did get Shantae, which is weird for me because I don't really play indie games.
Insert his comment here.
Huh?
We're really expecting a lot more from you in the dirty jokes department.
Come on, Justin.
You're not delivering.
And Shantae in the same sentence, and there was nothing from you. I'm disappointed.
Sorry, I was actually just about. What I was thinking was which Shantae, half genie or
half genie hero on the Switch, and I'm liking it. I'm starting to get kind of bored of it because it's starting to get a little grindy and find this item that you don't know where it is to unlock next stage that you'll play in like 10 minutes. But it's a fun game.
Which is basically, I mean, I think I just got to the second island of whatever the last one was. Help me out here.
Pirate's Curse.
Pirate's Curse, right. Yeah, and I mean, I like the game, but it just does not hold my attention, and so I didn't even bother getting half genie hero, but
yeah. Sure. Well, the things I like about the game, it's easy to pick up and play. There is a challenging difficulty to it, especially since I'm playing on like the challenging difficulty. And the characters and the levels and the art really do have a lot of personality. I don't like the fan service-y aspects of Shantae. I feel like the character design is a little gimmicky and kind of like tricks people into playing because look at all the animated boobs bouncing around on screen. But like
it's even better in the 3DS version because you know they've got curvature to them.
And there go all of our female listeners. But no, it's
the game.
It's a decent game. It's got a fun gimmick for a 2D platformer. It's not my favorite game, but it's cool. I don't know. It's kind of middle of the road for me. But I'm getting over my indie phobia because I'm being a little more productive in real life, and that in turn makes me like less jealous and upset when I like see indie games. So I can play them now, which is cool. So that's kind of where I am. Big character growth and development. I'm leveling up in real life.
Fair enough. I'm very excited that you're back into Pokemon Go because I kind of want to tack on to that as well. I finally did my first raid. Didn't win. it was a slaughter fest. I didn't have enough people, but it was fun. It was really cool to see like people actually out and about playing Pokemon, like in a different way. Like before, like you used to see people walking up and down this road up, that had a lot of Pokestops, because they're trying to get their Pokeballs. Now everybody's congregating in one place and trying to achieve the same goal. So I really like what where Pokemon Go is headed. Granted, it's still got a long way to go. The battles are still kind of the same basic stuff. So take that with what you will. But I really enjoy Pokemon Go again, and so it's nice. It's that I was able to install it on my phone again. So that was interesting.
Can I say one more thing about Pokemon Go before you go on?
Yeah, hit it.
Like and you just kind of reminded me of this. I like that, like in all the raids that I went to, there were parents with their children. There were old people, like 70 years old, playing by themselves. There were kids in their 20s and 30s. It's a game that's accessible to everyone, and that's cool. I like that because you don't see that with video games in general. Video games are made to appeal to a specific audience, and as gimmicky and frankly, clickbaity and pay for play as Pokemon Go is, there's a lot of good there in like getting to interact with other real humans and work toward like a common goal, even if something as stupid as catching a Pokemon. Like there's something that feels good about that. So that's my other thing. Okay, I'm done. I won't interrupt anymore.
Well, I don't know if anybody wants to jump in here next, or if you guys just want me to go and talk about the games I've been playing. Justin,
go ahead,
Lucas,
Eugene, you had started. So go ahead.
Yeah, continue.
Oh yeah, definitely played Pokemon Go. Only 2 other games, really. Not really much to say. I did want to say that I jumped into Breath of the Wild Master Mode, which we already discussed earlier, but totally really reinvigorated me into the game. Like, so Lucas convinced me last podcast, actually, I think it was last podcast or after the podcast or at some point that I had to just abandon my old save file and start fresh in Master Mode. And I'm so glad you did, because I'm able to like re-experience the game all over again pretty much. And I'm finding myself playing it a lot differently. Like before, I was, just hack and slashing. Now I'm actually having to put some thought into the battles. I'm actually parrying, which I never did until like the final battle, but now it's almost required because the enemies regenerate health. Now I'm having to kite the enemies one by one because, if you try and take them on in a group, forget about it because they're all regenerating, you can't take them on. So it's really kind of a different game. Almost, I mean, it's the same game, sure, but I'm playing it in a different way, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm glad I'm doing that. Other than Breath of the Wild, I did get into playing some Battlegrounds again, which I have been playing continuously. I've never stopped. Don't get me wrong, but I did want to talk about it tonight because I finally got my first chicken dinner. It was great.
I was going to ask that.
That's when you win a match, like out of 100 people, you won.
Yeah,
winner, chicken dinner.
Yep, I finally got my first chicken dinner. I kind of cheated, sort of. Like I only got 4 kills, and I've definitely been in matches where I've had a lot more than 4 kills. But I found myself kind of in the center of the map in this like cornfield, or I guess it was like I don't know, like a hayfield or something. But I just stayed in prone position. And just by happenstance, the circle just kind of centered in on where I was, and I was kind of able to crawl into where the circle was, kind of pick off my people, and I survived. I got down to the last 3 people. I waited until the last person made his move and killed the last guy. I popped up and I killed the motherfucker with my Uzi, and I got a chicken dinner. So yeah, it was exciting.
Dude, I love it.
It was really cool. So I was excited about that. Other than that, I haven't really played much. I did jump in and played a little Mario Kart the other day, but not really much to speak of there. So yeah, that's about it for me. So all right, who wants to take next? The baton is yours.
Since
go ahead, Justin. I'm good with this.
Since I'm already making noise and nobody else is jumping in. My Pokemon Go experience has been all right. I gotta get this out of my face because I think I'm supposed to be talking into it. My Pokemon Go experience has been every time I've left the house in the past week and a half, I've opened Pokemon Go and found it completely deserted as far as the eye can see, even when I zoom out all the way. So, that's fun. It's so sad because I used to be able to. I used to get Pokemon in my living room. The first Pokemon I ever caught. And for those of you who don't know, I live in a tiny little village on the outskirts of nowhere.
Sure.
With her husband, Eustace Bang. But creepy things happen in nowhere. It's up to Courage to save his new home.
Oh my God, this man is full of names. Like, it's just out of nowhere, here comes Lucas.
Lucas, are you high tonight? Anyway. Yeah, so I live in the middle of nowhere, and I mean, I've got 3 Pokestops and 1 gym in my village. The post office, 2 churches, and then the gym is some war monument or whatever. But those are like a mile down the road. I'm home with my kids, so the only time I ever get to, even play the game is when we go across the street to the playground.
Mm-hmm.
There's a baseball field with a little playground there. And yeah, I used to be able to, like I said, I used to be able to catch Pokemon in my own living room. The first Pokemon I got was in the kitchen. The first one I got in the wild, like my starter was in my own kitchen. The first one I got in the wild was like just outside on, we live on a dead end street with like 4 houses on it. And it was just out in the yard. Now, none of them. Like the only time I ever see Pokemon is when I go out shopping in the city that's like 30 miles away.
Interesting.
So Pokemon Go sucks balls for me. Just thought I'd throw that out there because I want it to be good. I want it to be fun. I want to go out and play it, when I go with the kids. But yeah. So Niantic, if you're listening, you're not. But if you're listening, please go. If you're going to bring anything back that was in version 1.0, have it be that Pokemon can appear just about anywhere, because this is ridiculous. If you don't live in any sort of like social hub, there's nothing to do. The game is just taking up space on my phone. What I did play in the past couple weeks, I don't know. I keep on booting up my Wii U, scanning through all the games on it. I might boot one up, play it for 5 minutes, and shut it off. Like nothing's been holding my attention. And then just one night, I'm like, I'm going to see what else I got. And ended up playing Bully Scholarship Edition for about an hour and a half. I got it on my Xbox 360 during one of their sales back when I had a gold membership like 2 years ago, and kind of slow burning my way through it. And I love open world games. I love stuff like that. And Bully is probably one of the most unique open world games because it's open world and sandboxy, but it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do anything. You have certain rules, and the more there, of course, the school's broken up into, for anybody who hasn't played it, Bully was made by Rockstar Games, the people who make Grand Theft Auto and who made Red Dead Redemption. And it is that same style. It's the same game engine but you play as the, 13-year-old kid in a boarding school in like the 60s or something like that. And that's the only place you go, as far as I know. You're just at the campus of this school. So it seems like it'd be really boring. But, there's classes that you go to where you have to do like little mini games. There's the whole grounds of the school that you can explore. You can go all over the dorm. You can go and sneak into the girls' dorm and hope not to get caught.
That's fun.
And the students are all kind of broken up into certain archetypes. There are the jocks, there are the greasers, there are just your standard bullies. They're nerds. The girls are either, the popular girls or the nerdy girls or whatever. And there's this weird dynamic, which kind of reminds me of Grand Theft Auto 2, actually, where if you are like constantly like attacking a certain group, that group will start to hate you and you'll get a reaction out of them. And as they dislike you, the group that is like socially opposite them will start to like you more. So like me growing up a nerd, I'm always nice to the nerds, and so the bullies start picking on me, so I start beating up the bullies, and so the bullies start hate me even more. And so it's a fun little, you know, distraction, and I haven't played it in a long time, and it was kind of fun to play it again.
So I've never played Bully before, but you're not the first person who's gushed about it before, and I from what I understand, it's pretty close to kind of like the Grand Theft Auto formula, but I just can't stand the Grand Theft Auto game. So maybe this is kind of the Grand Theft Auto game for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I mean, gameplay wise, like holding the controller in your hand and controlling him feels very Grand Theft Auto. Like there's no mistaking the fact that these are the same people who made it. But that's kind of where, and you know, there's an open world aspect to it, and you take missions when you want to, but that's really where the similarities end. I don't know if there's a story. You know, I've done a few missions. You seem to be just basically going from the beginning of the school year to the end of the school year. It's Halloween now in the section that I'm at. I haven't noticed any real character progression. Really, it's just kind of one of those games where I want to play something and mess around for a little while, and that's what I do.
It's got about the same level of story development as like early GTA games.
Okay, so you're just kind of really along for the ride.
Yeah, you're not really going to get much out of it from like a story point of view. There's something there to keep you entertained, but if you're playing it, you should be playing it to go beat up on other students and stuff. Like that's right. The fun.
And I mean, in that hour and a half that I played it, I actually found a lot of areas that I never knew were accessible, so that was kind of cool. Speaking of games with or without story, the other game that I played was I finally beat Bayonetta. I've had it ever since the price dropped on them, was like a year or so ago, and I really wanted Bayonetta 2, but I really wanted to play Bayonetta 1 first.
Sure.
And I would play it in fits and starts. Like I would play like 2-3 levels a night, and then I'd play, you know, another level the next night, and then nothing for months on end. And then I say, oh, I got to play Bayonetta again, and I do the same thing. So finally last night I'm like, you know what? I know I only have a couple of levels left. I'm just going to power through it.
Right.
Spoiler alert, the end is not the end. And then the end is not the end. And there's
I know. I read the chat.
And then for some reason, after the credits, you're treated to this long dance number,
which is the best part of the game.
It is a bizarre game, and the story makes absolutely no sense.
The story makes sense. It's
in typical Japanese platinum game way. The story makes absolutely no sense, but it's so balls to the wall, Japanese batshit crazy. We don't care that it's just glorious, just how over the top, how self-aware over the top it is. And I cannot wait to. I'm gonna take a little time off from Bayonetta, but I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see what the second one holds for me.
You were talking about the ending, and you're like, the end is not the end, and then there's another not end. I'm like, hey, that's. For a second, I thought you were talking about Bravely Default.
No, it's not. I've heard of the not end of Bravely Default. No, it's not that bad. Yes, I have my Bayonetta amiibo and I have my Cloud amiibo. I'm hoping to be able to get. I'm hoping to be able to get the Bayonetta 1 amiibo at Best Buy this weekend. Keeping my fingers crossed, but yeah. Anyway, for people listening, Steve just held up. He has the Bayonetta Smash amiibo, the Bayonetta 2 one. But yeah, I mean, really, since I finished Breath of the Wild, I still have very little ambition to really start a game. So I think if you follow me on Twitter at Infendo Justin, one of these days I'm going to put up a poll of what game you guys want me to do a retro review for. I got a handful of games I've been wanting to play that've been on my backlog. But other than that, I've pretty much just been working on a new website, which I will plug when it's ready.
Fair enough.
I'm not leaving Infendo. Cool. Well, it's totally not video game related.
Well, Steve, that sounds like to me like you are up, and I know that you kind of wanted to sneak in a little bit of Minecraft news, and so why don't you hit that one right at the top?
Well, first off, I want you to look at my screen and see what's staring you down.
And I want to make sure that Lucas's hands are visible while you're holding that up, because
I've been looking, and I want you to be aware that I was ignoring it the whole time. So
don't make me start sending you iMessage stickers that are Sonic. You know I will.
And Steve, before you start talking Minecraft, I forgot to shout this out because I didn't really play it yet. I just touched like a half hour on it, but Steve was amazing enough to contribute to me and Mike both being able to finally play Minecraft. So big shout out to you, buddy, for that. Like, that was really cool of you. So now I have Minecraft on the Switch, and so does Mike. And sometime we will actually all play it together. You just have to get us in the right mood, apparently.
You and Mike
who has it on the Wii U.
I will play with you whenever you want, Justin. You just got to shoot me a text and let me know. I'm dead serious about that.
All right.
So,
because
and Lucas, you can thank my boss for having computer problems for your copy of Minecraft. You and Mike. So, but yeah. So, I have been off for 2 weeks. Not that you guys changed the system last week anyway, but I got heavy into Minecraft in that time. And this was before the update came out, which I believe dropped late last night because I downloaded it while I was hunting with Mike and Lucas. But what it does, it added some new DLC. They put the Fallout mashup pack in there. They put the Skyrim mashup pack in there. And then they put the Biome Settlers 2 skin pack. So skins, the characters you play as, those are all modeled after mushroom biome or nether biomes. And those are my 2 favorite places to play in, even though I'm miserable inside the nether when it comes to fighting the enemies. But I do love those 2 areas of the game. In fact, I always build on a mushroom biome. The other big thing it did, though, besides adding that DLC, of course, there's the usual bug fixes and whatnot. That's a given, so don't write in and say, hey, you're an idiot, you forgot about that. But the other big thing it did was it added 1080p support to the Switch. And I was kind of having a discussion with Lucas about this. And I want to see if I can pull up the article. Well, I'm not going to try because it'll take me too long and I can't concentrate and type at the same time. But basically what they said is we knew from the beginning the reason they didn't have 1080p support when Minecraft launched was because they wanted to get the game out there. And they knew it would look just fine in 720p for a little bit, but they were having, and they were very open with this, but they were having issues getting the switching working from the docked mode to the undocked mode because you can do that on the fly. You know, you can pull it out of the dock and it's instantly in handheld mode, put it back in the dock, and within 2 seconds or so, it's on the TV. And they were having a hard time getting the resolutions to switch. So after the update came out, they issued a statement about why exactly they were having that issue. And what it was it had nothing to do with the graphics or the pixels or anything like that. It was the interface. The crafting interface that was causing the issue. Well, sorry, not the crafting interface from the table, but like your on-screen HUD where it shows your inventory and whatnot. That was the problem. And from what they explained in their statement, the HUD that's in each of the games, so the PlayStation, the Xbox, the Wii U, and the Switch versions, are all custom written for that version of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to fix the issue between switching between 720 and 1080p, they had to completely rewrite the HUD so the HUD didn't have an issue switching. And they were very open about it. And they, said, hey, we're sorry this took so long, but this is why it took so long. You have it now, and thank you for your patience.
Interesting.
Which I thought was very, very cool on their part, that they would throw all that out there for us to know.
And was it worth it? Can you tell a difference?
That was the other thing I wanted to talk about, because Lucas was Mike. I don't know. Was it just me and you at that point, Lucas, or was Mike there?
No, it was just us because I had just broken off from my Mike convo when you paged me.
That's right. And then I called right after. Yeah, Lucas is always on Skype. But yeah, so I was talking to Lucas and I booted up Minecraft and I was like, this really doesn't look that different. And then I was messing around with the settings on my Switch. And under video settings, I'm looking it up to see if I can. Okay. So under TV settings on your Switch, there's TV resolution, RGB range, and then, you know, there's like burn-in reduction and match TV power state. By default, your Switch is set to TV resolution auto, so it'll automatically adjust to your TV's resolution. And RGB range is also set to auto, so it will supposedly sense what your TV can do. Well, just for shits, I decided to switch those to 1080p because that's what kind of TV I have. And I switched it from automatic to full range. And instantly, I was shocked at how much better it looked on my TV. So clearly my TV is capable of more than my Switch. It's something to do with the color palette. Like more colors. I don't understand fully what it means either. Do you know much about that, Eugene?
Absolutely not. I have 2 shitty TVs hanging on my wall, so.
Hey, yeah, I'll look it up. 50-inch TV. I got one sitting over here for $500.
Yeah, he'll trade it for a Switch straight across too.
New in the box. I'll take a used Switch for it.
I got like 500 Koroks on my other Breath of the Wild account.
There you go. Just swap them straight across. So like I said, I don't know exactly what it is. I know it has to do with the colors though, because the second I switched it on, it went from being kind of washed out to just as vibrant colors as you get when the Switch is in handheld. So for those of you that have the nicer TVs, I highly recommend just head over to full range and see if you notice any difference. Because I went from wanting a new TV to suddenly being like, oh, okay, this looks just fine. So I thought that was pretty cool. But actually, back to Minecraft, I've been playing it a lot. You know, I've built like a pumpkin harvester that does all the harvesting for me. I just have to go into the chest and get the pumpkins and it's harvested for me. I built a automatic furnace where I just drop a bunch of shit in the chest in the top, and it smelts it all for me as it's feeding fuel in the other side and drops it all down into a chest below.
I didn't even know you could do stuff like that.
See, this is why you need to play with me, Justin, because neither did Lucas. And when I showed him my PS4 world, he was like, good Lord, dude. Because I've got some fun stuff like that. I've got a mob-proof door to where it can't be opened by anything. Creeper, but it can't be opened by any normal enemies.
Why? If you have a door that can't be opened by anything, why not just make it a wall?
Well, no, it can't be opened by enemies.
Oh, okay.
So you can open it, but it can't be opened by enemies. It's because of the you know, I've been working on my farm. I'm basically working on rebuilding my PS4 world on my Switch because the Switch is my console of choice. Justin, we'll have to hop into creative one of these days and I'll show you some of this stuff you can build because a lot of it is incredibly useful.
Yeah, because I feel like I've reached my limit to the things that I can or care to do in Minecraft, which is why I haven't played it in so long. I mine, you know, craft, and I'm done.
And for anybody listening, don't think I'm a Minecraft expert because I'm not. I've barely scratched the surface of what you can do on Minecraft from the videos that I've watched on YouTube. So please don't think I'm an expert or not. I mean, I know a lot of stuff, but
to be fair, in the chat, I literally just called you, and I quote, the mad scientist of Minecraft. So clearly there's some skill there, because you kind of like, manipulate the world in a way that's so unique for like everything I've seen. And maybe it's just my own inexperience with Minecraft, but I watch the stuff you do, and it's really innovative to the point where like I've never been that interested in that in Minecraft.
Okay, so now
I feel like visiting Steve's Minecraft world would require having Raymond Scott playing in the background.
See,
if you don't know what that means, look it up.
It just makes me feel like the happy-go-lucky adventurer who stumbles upon like the genius builder's workshop, and I'm like, can I have a sword made of like pure mithril to kill my foes? Can you make this for me, great wizard?
Now, Lucas, I need you to understand what you feel when you watch me play Minecraft is the same way I feel when I watch these other people play Minecraft that are better at it than I.
Well,
So
sure.
I get
Hasn't
exactly what
somebody
you're
built,
saying.
like an actual working like calculator and all kinds of weird bullshit in
Yeah,
Minecraft. So yeah, I get it. Like,
yeah, a Game Boy emulator that actually you can play Pokemon Yellow on
yeah, it's
with the original sound effects. I mean, obviously you can't do that kind of stuff in the console versions, but you know.
Right.
I just want the 3D recreation of the original Legend of Zelda map. Can somebody give me that?
Somebody might be able to. I don't know that. I don't know how long it'll be up before Nintendo tries to take it down, though. So, well, I promise you, Steve, that at one point I will get Minecraft on the Switch, but it's got to be at the right price. So,
Gotcha.
and I know that you said that you'd pay some of it and everything for me, but the way I see it is, if I buy it with my own money, then I feel obligated to actually play it, if that makes sense, you know? So when I buy it, I'll play it. So I don't know.
And to be fair, I would rather take that money that you would not like me to spend on a copy of you for Minecraft and put that towards Justin's Switch.
Sure.
Yay, then I'll have a system without a game to play on it.
And I just got word from my wife that it is lightning, thundering, and all kinds of stuff outside. So now would probably be a good time to wrap things up.
Yeah, my girlfriend's almost home, so I have to leave soon too.
So that is the extent of what I've been playing. I did play a little bit of Monster Hunter with Mike and Lucas the 2 nights ago, and that's literally all I've played. I didn't play anything while I was on vacation. So
interesting. Cool. Well, I guess you said it there, Steve. It's about time to wrap things up for the night. We we were worried about not giving it fucking anybody a long show, and we talked for an hour and 45 minutes about a stupid fucking top 25 list. But
we
that
knew
was
that
fun.
was going to happen.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that discussion. It was really interesting. I would definitely like to do it again, but like Lucas said, in like another 200 episodes or something like that. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But with that said, y'all, why don't we get out of here? You want to take us away, Mr. Steve, since you've got the lightning on your back, so you know.
Yes, guys, that way if I have to disconnect. So you can find me at Gentis1 on Twitter. You can also find me writing a little bit more, on Infendo.com. I had my own article go up today, the top 25 list. We also just had an indie discussion article go up, which is really fascinating because it gives you 3 completely different perspectives on indie games, at least for us anyway. So hop over to the website and read that. And then the other thing, too, that I want to let you, the listeners, know, I would like to write more articles. And one way I can do that is if you guys send me ideas of what you'd like to hear about. So if you guys can email any article ideas or topics that you'd like discussed on the show or stuff like that to me, you can do that at steve@infendo.com. So, and I'll be compiling a list for all of us here at Infendo to use.
Yep, that sounds like a good plan. So I guess I'll take the next position here because I ain't got much to say. Yeah, you know where you can find me.
Can I go next just in case my girlfriend walks in the door?
Hit it.
All right, sorry. You can follow me on Twitter at InfendoJustin. Yeah, and all my other information is actually in my profile, so you can find me on Wii U and 3DS there.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna go next, and Lucas, you're gonna close us out, baby girl. So get them windpipes ready.
Look at that first
I do.
The Alpha and Omega.
So y'all, you know where to find us. Infendo.com is a place now, like Lucas said and Steve was saying before as well. We got some articles coming up. Lucas's article's coming up tomorrow about his top 25 games, and I'll have one up on Friday. So look forward to that. You can find us on Twitter at Infendo. You can find my personal Twitter at InfendoEugene. And check my pinned tweet on that if you want to be my friend on the Switch. So, Mr. Lucas, Mr. Arms, why don't you take us away?
Yeah, in case you weren't listening to literally like everyone else just now, and if you weren't, then you really suck at podcasting. We are working hard to try to make Infendo.com like
great again.
A good site. No, I'm not going to go there. I refuse to be a part of this. But we really do want the site to kind of like flourish again because it's been a while, and
sure,
we've got time, we've got people. we want to do good work. And the only thing more fun than writing objective articles that are, thought-provoking and intelligent is having other people like listen to them and comment on them and, finding out their opinions on them. So if you do want to get a little more time with our thoughts, as scary as that might be, please go to infendo.com. We're trying to put out some good quality content. And like Steve and Eugene said, if you hit us up on like our Twitters or wherever else we can be found, we'll give us a topic. We'd love to write about it, I'm sure. Like, we just come up with whatever we think of, but we've got a lot to say. We're very opinionated. That's why we do a podcast every week for like 4 hours. So, hit us up. My Twitter is Mike_DA_parrot. Hopefully I don't have to explain that again. I feel like I do that every week. Just know that it's me. And because Mike isn't here, his is Mike_THE_poet. Those are our Twitter accounts. My YouTube is Pokemon Trainer Verdant. I haven't been active. I should be. I did a really weird, terrible Windows Movie Maker video at like 3 a.m. that's just Ocean Man getting worse and choppier because I was feeling memey and like hate the worldy, but don't watch that. It's bad. I made it purposefully bad, so don't check that out. But maybe someday something good will be there. That's pretty much all I've got. Follow us and love us and become a part of our lives. Almost stalk us.
And we'll be back to a normal show next week. So if you love Nintendo Tunes, which I hope you do, we'll have that again next week. We haven't really discussed who's going to be hosting that, so maybe it will be me, maybe it will be a surprise. We'll never know.
It will not be me because I don't have time to put anything together.
I like hosting because it's always terrible for everyone involved.
I have a list of about 20 games.
Well, we'll discuss that in the group me, I'm sure, this coming week. But that's been it tonight for Infendo Radio. Like Lucas said, do all the shit he said, but also like and follow us on on Twitter and on our YouTube. Please give us a iTunes rating if you have an iTunes account. If you're listening to us on like Podbean or some other kind of service, try and give us a rating there. Really helps our visibility. We see our numbers going up each and every week, and it's all because of you guys. So really thank you for that, for being a part of the show, because like Lucas said earlier, you guys are like always the fifth chair or the sixth chair on the show. So thank you for being a part of the live chat. That's it, guys. We're out of here. We love you, and peace out. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Stay fresh. Stay off the hook. Don't get cooked.
Gosh.
Whatever Splatoon 3 is going to be, that too.
All right, I'm going to make a note for show ending. Awesome. That was great. Steve came back. Did you leave us? Oh, God, there's 2 Steves. Where is Steve gone? Where has he gone?
I just swapped over to my phone. That way I can be disconnected from power.
I like to imagine Steve hates us, and as soon as the show's over, he's just like, fuck all these people.
Nah. No, I just need to disconnect from power since the storm's coming in.
All right,
and waste the power on your phone in case of an emergency.
I feel like we went a lot longer.
Oh, I've got backup chargers.
It's 11:30, but my recording is only 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is like average for us.
We started a lot earlier than we normally do. Usually we're starting at 7 at best, and we started like about 15 minutes before 7, so that I think helps.
Yeah, but I feel like we usually end at like 11, don't we? Or do we always end at this time?
Around this time, I don't know. It kind of depends. What time did we end last week? It was like almost nearly 10.
Well, but last week wasn't a fair example. Last week was just a nightmare of emotion and yelling.
Last week is still going.
Hey, why don't we say goodbye to the chat? You have a request from the chat, one of our chatters, Lucas.
Oh, fondle giblets, but I already stopped my recording. So fondle giblets or giblets or
and I'm already exporting, so
quays.
It's okay. It's gonna be in the YouTube feed. So bye guys. See y'all later, YouTube.
Fondle giblets.